Chapter 2605. Qin Nan has stumbled into the 59th Immortal Palace. Crap, the 59th Immortal Palace has been destroyed. No one survived. The 59th Immortal Palace has been destroyed in less than 2 breaths. Crap, Qin Nan is too fast. Qin Nan has set his eyes on us. The 47th Immortal Palace has been wiped out. Qin Nan has set his eyes on the 21st Immortal Palace too. Within the divine sense arrays of the sovereigns of the various immortal palaces, numerous pieces of news were transmitted to them. Many of them were just about to react when the situation on the battlefield took a completely new turn. The rulers of Dao in particular were astounded when they heard the news from the 21st Immortal Palace. The outcome of being targeted by Qin Nan was obvious. Songji's clone, who was in charge of the celestial palaces, shouted, "Everyone, activate the forbidden spell at once. Speed up at all costs." Acknowledged. Every ruler of Dao was well aware of how terrifying Qin Nan was. They could feel the threat of death looming over them. They did not hold back at all. Finally, when the 5th Immortal Palace stumbled into Qin Nan and was completely destroyed by Qin Nan, the remaining 2 Immortal Palaces and the rest of the Immortal Palaces made it to the entrances of the 6 void ancient paths. Each entrance had 11 heaven-severing dragon boats floating in the air. The 11 Immortal Palaces emitted immortal glows that shook the heavens and earth. Form the map of the Immortal Palaces. Song's clone gave the order. Rumble. The absolute heavenly dragon boats and the immortal palaces at each entrance activated an ancient formation at the same time. Their auras instantly connected with each other, causing the pressure they were emitting to rise rapidly. The light they emitted illuminated the area within a few 100,000 li. When they took a closer look, they were no longer separated. They had merged into one, like a picture formed by the heavens and earth. Yi Zhaoxian and Song had never underestimated Qin Nan. They knew how strong Qin Nan's strength was, thus they had come prepared. They could not afford to let Qin Nan defeat them one by one. Since Qin Nan was going to battle personally, then let Qin Nan face the power of their entire alliance. This was the only way to completely exhaust Qin Nan, or even severely injure Qin Nan, or even kill him. Qin Nan is here. He has arrived at the 3rd void ancient path. Suddenly, a voice filled with fear and a hint of excitement echoed in his mind. Songji's avatar's eyes lit up. Stall him immediately. Then, head to the other void ancient paths and rush to the 3rd void ancient path. After arriving, we will merge into the map of the Immortal Palace Heaven. At this moment, another voice rang out. It was none other than Yi Zhaoxian. Don't be afraid. As long as you can delay him for 5 breaths of time, I will come back from the end of the ancient path. At the end of the 6 paths, Yi Zhaoxian's 6 incarnations and the top experts of Yi Tsang's alliance were standing guard. At the same time, at the 3rd void ancient path, Qin Nan stepped through the sky, his aura stirring the wind and clouds in the sky. He completely suppressed the Immortal Palace Heaven map formed by the 11 Immortal Palaces and dragon boats, making it look like an island in the middle of a vast ocean. Although Qin Nan was alone, and the people of Qin Nan's alliance had yet to arrive, to the sovereigns in the 11 Immortal Palaces, Qin Nan was like an invincible army. Qin Nan looked at Song's 11 avatars. Without saying a word, he directly slashed. Holy light shone, demon god roared. Stall him. We just need to hold on for 5 breaths of time. A peak ruler raised his head and roared madly. The life force in his body burned continuously as he executed a forbidden art, turning it into surging energy that poured into the formation. It had to be said that the power displayed by the 11 Immortal Palaces in the Immortal Palace Heaven map was extraordinary. Even after enduring Qin Nan's slash, the 11 Immortal Palaces shook violently. Their formation wasn't disrupted at all. Not even a millimeter. This way, we can definitely hold on for 5 breaths of time. A peak sovereign was delighted. But in the next moment, his pupils shrank. In the instant of the clash, Qin Nan had arrived in front of their formation without anyone noticing. He was only half a meter away. Qin Nan attacked. He stabbed his saber into the surface of the formation. Then, he gathered the power of the half-step eternal indestructible body, the art of the immortal demon, the Tao-trembling immortal scripture, and other cultivation methods. Finally, they all exploded through his right arm. On the hilt of Skyblade. Boom! Cracks appeared between the heavens and earth. The pattern formed by the 11 immortal palaces shattered into pieces. Every immortal palace shook violently. The faces of the peak rulers in the immortal palaces paled slightly. What kind of terrifying punch was this? They had no idea how to describe it. However, fortunately, the heavenly map of the celestial palace was personally passed down by Yi Zhaoxian and Song. It was far from an ordinary formation. Although the formation diagram as a whole was already broken, the union between them was still there. In other words, half of the formation had been destroyed. It only had half of its power left. Qin Nan charged into the 11 immortal palaces like a dragon diving into the ocean. In the second breath, an immortal palace was destroyed. The cultivators inside it were all dead. In the third breath, an immortal palace was destroyed. The power of the formation dropped rapidly. Half of the cultivators inside it were dead. In the fourth breath, 2 immortal palaces were destroyed. The power of the formation was negligible. More than half of the cultivators inside it were dead. At the fifth breath, a shocking aura suddenly surged from the void ancient path that went straight up. Qin Nan, I'll be your opponent. Yi Zhaoxian in a white robe and holding an immortal sword like a deity descending to the world. She dove down from the ancient void path with a tremendous aura. Chapter 2606. Merge with the map of the Immortal Palace. Each of the Immortal Palaces activated an ancient formation and unleashed a mystical aura. It connected with the 7 remaining Immortal Palaces. The power of the formation grew rapidly and turned into a map of the heavens and earth once again. In addition to it, when the number of immortal palaces on the map of the Immortal Palace reached 11, the remaining immortal palaces continued to merge with the map of the Immortal Palace. In less than a breath's time, the map of the Immortal Palace consisted of 16 immortal palaces. The aura released by the entire formation was twice as strong as before. The aura it emitted caused a large area of space to ripple violently like water ripples. It was on the verge of shattering and turning into chaos. Qin Nan's eyes glittered. He tossed the heaven-shattering saber forward. It turned into a shocking ray of light and nailed the 15th immortal palace to the right with a shocking saber intent. The aura of the entire celestial palace heavenly map immediately dropped a lot. It was as if a nail had been hammered into the eye of an immemorial formation, causing it to be unable to operate as smoothly as before. Qin Nan moved forward instead of backing away. He went into the map of the Immortal Palace and threw a punch forward. It collided with Yi Zhaoxian's sword. Bang! Strong gusts of wind surged. Yi Zhaoxian was knocked back. However, his reaction was extraordinary. He directly used the momentum of being knocked back to draw a semicircle with the sword in his hand. He flicked it up and struck out with another shocking sword technique, releasing tens of thousands of dragon-shaped sword chi. Kill! The power of the map of the Immortal Palace was fully unleashed under the leadership of the Masters of the Immortal Palaces. Rare phenomena, runes, weapons, and phantoms of deities and demons appeared in the sky, forming all kinds of murderous intents. They surged forward fiercely. Kill! In addition to it, the rulers of Tao and the masters of Tao in the Immortal Palace were multitasking too. They executed a series of immortal arts to attack Qin Nan. There were even some who took out some kind of supreme treasure and unleashed a shocking attack. How terrifying! The masters of Tao who were watching the battle in the distance felt their scalps turning numb. Their hearts skipped a beat when they saw the scene. If they were surrounded by so many cultivators of the same level, they would not even last a second. The celestial venerables in the depths of the void were silent. Only a few of them took a deep breath. Yi Tsang's formation had surpassed the strength of ordinary heaven highnesses. They would suffer serious injuries if they were in Yi Tsang's place. Spells from the heavens. Who in the world can hurt me? Qin Nan uttered a thunderous roar all of a sudden. The sacred glow bursting out of his body merged with the demonic glow of the demonic realm behind him and formed the shape of an illusionary mountain looming over him. Bang, 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 bang. Densely packed explosions rang out one after another. Large swathes of the void were shaken into chaos by the explosive power of the explosions. However, everyone could vaguely see the sacred demonic light standing proudly among the light. It was like a huge tree in a huge fire. The flames could not harm the tree even though it was engulfed in flames. Emperor Yan's sword art, Yi Zhaoxian remained unmoved. She unleashed a shocking sword glow. Kill! The rulers of Tao were not affected either. They fully activated the formations and executed their immortal art. Qin Nan might be able to resist the first attack, but could he resist the second, third, or fourth time? Suddenly, the cries of phoenixes and the roars of dragons came from the distance. In the distance, Jiang Bailan, Xue Mengyao, Princess Miao Miao, and the others were riding enormous phoenixes. Ancestor Mingqiu, ruler Chang Shao, and the others were riding enormous dragons with golden glows. They were charging at Yi Tsang with tremendous auras. Seal of Eternal Yang. Jiang Bailan flew into the sky from the phoenixes. Her fair hand emitted a blinding glow as she slammed it at the heaven-shattering saber. Seal of Eternal Yin. Princess Miao Miao followed closely behind and slammed her palm forward. They had refined the flower of eternity by chance in the past. As they grew stronger, they had comprehended the flower of eternity to complement each other. 10,000 illusions saber art. Xue Mengyao soared into the sky and slashed down with her blade. Millions of blade shadows condensed in the void. Some were real and some were fake. They turned into a peerless rain of blades, drowning the entire map of the celestial palace. Kill! Ancestor Mingqiu and the others attacked at the same time. They activated their artifacts and executed their immortal art. Their attacks turned into torrents that slammed into the map of the immortal palace. Bang, bang, bang! All of a sudden, the map of the heavenly palace shook violently. Every master in Yi Tsang's alliance was greatly affected. It was true that the scale of Qin Nan's alliance was significantly smaller than Yi Tsang's alliance. They were even weaker than King Li's alliance, the tribe of immortal spirits, and the others. Without Qin Nan's alliance would at most be ranked 5th or 6th in the Nine Heavens immortal realm. However, after Qin Nan returned in triumph and opened the mountain passes, even though the number of rulers in their alliance did not increase by much, their strength had improved significantly in just a few months. Now, with Qin Nan leading them, they were a shocking force. Are they all here? Just in time. Yi Zhaoxian had an indifferent expression, as if the strength of Qin Nan's alliance was nothing to him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Right at this moment, 5 figures of Yi Zhaoxian appeared on the third void ancient path. All of them wore white clothes and held immortal swords in their hands as they lined up in a row, and they transformed into world-shocking flowing lights that swooped down. Behind them were streaks of dazzling divine light. On top of it, more immortal palaces were arriving from all directions. Almost all of them had arrived. Chapter 2607. The masters of Tao in the distance held their breaths and focused on the battle. Some of them even clenched their fists. Their palms were covered in sweat due to their excitement and nervousness. The heaven highnesses in the sky fell silent too. They stared at the battle without blinking, not willing to miss out on any detail. Since Yi Zhaoxian and Song Hunkong showed up and the battlefield of God's breath was established, it was the biggest battle in the Nine Heavens immortal realm. Even though not a single Heaven Highness was involved in the battle, its scale and level had surpassed a battle between several ordinary Heaven Highnesses. With the Alliance Master as the leader, we will disrupt their formation. The old ancestor of the first origin yelled and executed an ancient fist art. Jiang Bailan and Princess Miao Miao were working extremely well together. They knocked a ruler in the Greater Success stage down from the sky in the blink of an eye like two valiant Valkyries. Xuemingyao and the others displayed their outstanding strength and attacked the enemy in all directions. Bang bang bang! The area within a few million li was engulfed in thunderous blasts. Even though the immortal palaces continued to merge with the immortal palaces, the peak rulers guarding the ends of the 6 ancient void paths continued to join the battle. However, Qin Nan's alliance had disrupted the formations of Yi Tsang's alliance. They could not unleash their full strength. The number of sovereigns who had fallen also began to increase. Qin Nan, the people of the Southern Alliance, were not unharmed either. Their masters of Dao and rulers of Dao were dying too. However, more experts of Yi Tsang's alliance were dying. First Palace, lead the people of the 15 immortal palaces and keep an eye on the others of Qin Nan's alliance. The rest of you, don't worry about anything. Focus on Qin Nan. The 6 Yi Zhaoxian spoke at the same time. Their voices overlap. Even though they were calm, their auras were intimidating. His expression remained the same throughout the battle. Even when rulers of Dao died on his side and cried out in agony, he did not seem bothered at all. These were all chess pieces. As long as he could severely injure Qin Nan, or even kill Qin Nan, then everything would be worth it. Understood. The peak sovereigns all roared at the sky, their eyes red with bloodlust. However, at this moment the terror of the half-step eternal body began to show. None, regardless of how many people were attacking Qin Nan, he could simply ignore them all. If he was able to nullify their attacks, he would nullify them. If he was unable to nullify their attacks, or if he had to turn around, he would simply ignore them. He was unharmed by the attacks of the various techniques, unmoving like a mountain. Sword light flashed in the eyes of the 6 Yi Zhaoxian. They tossed the immortal swords into the air, and suspended them in front of their heads. Then, their hands turned into countless afterimages as they formed one seal after another. Fromen illusory flames suddenly ignited at the soles of their feet and engulfed their bodies. The aura they exuded immediately began to soar. Yi Immortal Zhaoxian had spent a lot of effort to refine these 6 clones. She had thrown in a lot of precious materials so that each of them could unleash 1/50th of Yi Zhaoxian's strength. Now Yi Zhaoxian had burned all the power of all 6 clones in one go. The power they could unleash was multiplied several times over. Yi Zhaoxian had fought Zhou Di before. He knew very well that when facing someone with a constitution like the eternal indestructible body and in a group battle, he could not afford to drag out the battle. He had to fight a blitzkrieg. He had to gather everything he had and unleash his full power to injure his opponent. Kill! The power of the formation continued to explode, turning into all kinds of murderous intents that shot toward Qin Nan. Yi Zhaoxian. The rulers stared at Qin Nan and burned their own life force to attack Qin Nan. At this moment they had completely disregarded their own lives. They only wanted to injure this mountain-like man. Clang. However, they didn't know that Song's words before the battle had already planted a seed in their hearts, and it had imperceptibly taken root and sprouted. Time gradually passed. Some time later, suddenly, a loud buzz of a sword echoed within a few 100,000 li. It even drowned out the noises of the explosions in the sky. Yi Zhaoxian is going for the kill. The Heaven Highnesses and the cultivators in the Master Realm were startled. An incomparably dazzling sword light that was almost indescribable with words suddenly appeared in the huge battlefield. 6 Yi Zhaoxian was like an ancient immortal in a white robe. He moved at a shocking speed and arrived in front of Qin Nan within the blink of an eye. He slashed forward at the same time. 6 terrifying sword intents slashed at Qin Nan from all directions. He had nowhere to run to. Sacred and demon coexisting. Qin Nan threw a punch fearlessly. The sacred and demon coexisting, eternal. Boulder of time and space, turn into my sword glow, shatter eternity, shatter immortality. However, when everyone thought Yi Zhaoxian's sword glow was her strongest attack, it turned out to be Yi Zhaoxian's disguise. No. In an instant, the other 5 clones fused into Yi Zhaoxian's body. An illusory stone tablet condensed before shattering, turning into streaks of light that filled the sky and enveloping Yi Zhaoxian's sword. Bang! The sky dimmed when the sword was slashed forward. Every ruler of Tao in the battle sensed how terrifying the slash was. Even the eyes of the Heaven Highnesses in the rift widened. Was this Yi Zhaoxian, one of the 4 Supreme Highnesses in the past? How could her clones possess such terrifying power? However, no one had expected that in the next instant a thunderous boom would ring out. Yi Zhaoxian's sword light had been forcefully shattered by an unstoppable force. Qin Nan rose from the chaos like a peerless emperor descending upon the world. Do you seriously think you can hurt me with just your clones? Yi Zhaoxian's clones were shattered into pieces with a single punch. Please remember the domain name of this book. .com. The mobile version of the wonderful bookhouse.com. Chapter 2608. Even Yi Zhaoxian's 6 clones failed to hurt Qin Nan? The eyes of many Heaven Highnesses in the rift widened. Yi Zhaoxian's attack was comparable to the full-powered attack of an ordinary Heaven Highness in the Greater Success stage. The Heaven Highnesses finally realized why Yi Zhaoxian and Song were willing to sacrifice so much to deal with Qin Nan. How strong would Qin Nan be if he became a Heaven Highness? All hail the Alliance leader! The cultivators of Qin Nan's alliance yelled into the sky. Their morale skyrocketed. On the other hand, the cultivators of the immortal palaces suffered a great blow. Their morale dropped significantly. Something was going on. Many of them assumed Qin Nan was unbeatable. There was no way they could stand a chance against him. Meanwhile, Song's thunderous voice echoed in the hearts of the cultivators. Don't be afraid, don't panic. No matter how strong Qin Nan is, he's still a ruler of Tao. He might not be injured, but he must have expended half of his energy. We just need to hang in there and kill him. Hang in there. The words seemed to possess a magical power, deeply imprinting themselves into the hearts of the cultivators, causing their will to become firm and their fighting spirit to rise once again. Kill! 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 The cultivators kept yelling. Blue veins surfaced on their foreheads as they burned everything they had. You still haven't realized that you're only a chess piece. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with a hint of pity, before he immediately made his move. He might feel sorry for the cultivators, but he had no intention of going easy on them. Bang bang bang! The battle grew fiercer and fiercer. The will and gusts of wind produced by the collisions spread further. Many cultivators in the Master Realm who were watching the battle from afar had no choice but to back away. However, Qin Nan was still the center of attention in the battle. It was as if he was tireless. His strength was boundless. He kept sweeping across the place, destroying the formations and killing the rulers of Tao. All of a sudden, Qin Nan's figure shuddered as he arrived above one of the palaces and executed a shocking slash. Following a series of explosions, the palace was slashed in half. A few peak rulers of Tao spat out mouthfuls of blood. Qin Nan did not even blink his eyes facing the murderous intents. Without any hesitation, he resisted the attacks with his flesh and sprinted toward the last palace. Fight to the death. The peak ruler of the palace was Tsang's core disciple, thus he was bewitched the most. When he saw Qin Nan charging toward him, instead of showing any sign of fear, he was filled with madness. Bang bang bang! No. After 1,000 breaths of time, the last palace was chopped into pieces along with a stunning saber light. It's about time. Qin Nan scanned the battlefield and yelled, "Carry out the plan, leave!" Jiang Bailan, Shui Mengyao, Princess Miao Miao, and the others were startled. Yi Tsang's alliance still had half of its people left. Was he asking them to leave? They all acted like they didn't hear anything, using all of their strength to display their most powerful killing moves, blasting them into the distance. Qin Nan was enraged. He yelled, "Are you all going to disobey my orders?" Jiang Bailan, Shui Mengyao, Princess Miao Miao, and the others exchanged glances with one another and clenched their teeth. "That's too much, why are you being so fierce?" Princess Miao Miao pouted. She then yelled, "Carry out the plan." He launched a strike forward and then quickly retreated. "Let's go." Jiang Bailan, Shui Mengyao, and the others were unwilling, but they had no choice since Qin Nan was really angry. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The rulers of Qin Nan's alliance quickly left the battlefield. They turned into streaks of light and headed for the other void ancient paths. Is Qin Nan out of his mind? The masters of Tao and the celestials in the sky were dumbfounded. They could not believe it. They knew it was foolish of Qin Nan to take part in the battle against Yi Tsang's alliance. It would only exhaust Qin Nan's strength. It would bring great uncertainty to the battle between the celestials. Normally, Qin Nan's alliance would attack the battlefield and disrupt Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang's formation. Qin Nan would then use the opportunity to break into heavenly cosmos. However, not only did Qin Nan take part in the battle, he even asked Qin Nan's alliance to retreat before the battle was over. They knew Qin Nan would have to face the rest of Yi Tsang's alliance alone. Qin Nan, no matter how strong Nan was, he would have to pay a huge price to kill the rest of Yi Tsang's alliance. He might even be severely injured. With Qin Nan's current strength, how could it be easy for him to recover from a serious injury? Besides, how could Yi Zhaoxian and the others allow Qin Nan to recuperate in peace? Until how was he going to become a celestial venerable? "He's just too soft-hearted," a celestial venerable exclaimed. "Doesn't Qin Nan know that he can only take on Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang if he becomes a celestial venerable? It doesn't matter how many celestials Qin Nan's alliance have. They are no match for Yi Tsang's alliance." Another celestial venerable blurted out. No. However, even the heavenly Tao tree was frowning. Qin Nan taking part in the battle was already impulsive. No. Qin Nan might be strong, but it didn't mean he had no chance. But, however, it seemed like Qin Nan had completely destroyed the chance to do so. What was Qin Nan thinking? Hidden Celestial Venerable Ling Huang clenched his fists and muttered, "Qin Nan, oh Qin Nan, I hope you made the right decision. Otherwise, it will be a disaster." At the same time, at the entrance to the third ancient void path, Qin Nan faced the many celestial palaces and peak sovereigns by himself. He didn't feel any pressure at all. "I'll have to put on a good show later," Qin Nan muttered to himself and raised the heaven-shattering saber. Next battle. Please remember the domain name of this book. .com. Wonderful Book Mobile Version Website. .com. Chapter 2609. Tsang's voice rang out in the minds of the cultivators once more, full of vigor. "Everyone, Qin Nan is now alone. Although he is strong, he is not without weaknesses. As long as we can injure him severely, Yi Zhaoxian and I will fulfill our promise and guarantee that you will all become celestial venerables." These words instantly ignited the flames in the hearts of the remaining cultivators. There were so many of them. Even if they couldn't kill Qin Nan, how could they not severely injure Qin Nan? Qin Nan die. One peak ruler after another roared at the sky and unleashed a shocking attack. Qin Nan's eyes were cold as he charged forward, blade in hand, fighting all of them alone. Although this battle wasn't as intense as before, nor was it as grand as before, it was even more shocking. Because this was a single person facing a monstrous wave. Boom, boom. Heaven space shattered and the earth trembled. As time passed, more and more space was affected, turning into chaos. All sorts of martial wills remained in every corner. War was bloody and cruel. The experts of Yi Tsang's alliance, in order to injure this mountain-like man, had paid an incomparably painful price. One famous peak dominator after another, accompanied by miserable screams, fell on the spot, turned into bones, and their lives ended. Of course, the heavens did not disappoint those who persevered. As they continued to burn their life force, they finally saw a glimmer of hope. Only 3 peak rulers controlled 3 immortal palaces, activating the tattered map of the immortal palaces, summoning a shocking killing intent. It was a sword. It seemed to have come from endless light. It didn't have a physical body, only vibrating light. However, it was extremely sharp. Everywhere it passed, everything was cut in half. Qin Nan's entire body glowed with demonic holy light. Without another word, he punched out, forcibly blocking the terrifying sword. Again. On the other side, the 5 peak rulers roared and activated the formation again, summoning an even sharper sword of light to slash at Qin Nan. Qin, as usual, Nan exploded with holy light, choosing to use his physical strength to resist. Boom! This time, a different situation occurred. Qin Nan's figure was forcefully smashed down a few hundred meters, and Qin Nan's indifferent and cold expression changed slightly as a wisp of paleness appeared on his face. A drop of golden blood leaked out from the corner of Qin Nan's lips. It dripped into the rift and turned into a golden immortal flower. In such a great battle, the appearance of such a drop of blood was simply insignificant. It was like a large snowflake drifting down from the sky. No one would pay attention to it. However, it was different this time. Everyone saw this drop of blood. It was as if this drop of blood was an ancient sun, shining brightly and incomparably eye-catching. Qin Nan's defenses have been breached. Qin Nan is really too arrogant this time. Does he really think he can sweep through the entire Yi Tsang alliance by himself? Once injuries appeared, they would only increase. Only 30% of the people in Yi Tsang's alliance were left. Qin Nan is going to suffer serious injuries in this battle. The Celestial Highnesses and the cultivators in the Master Realm blurted out. At this moment, in their eyes, the appearance of the injury was the first step toward the destruction of the Qin Nan alliance. The cultivators in Yi Tsang's alliance were energized. Someone yelled into the sky, "Comrades, Qin Nan's defenses have been breached. We will be able to inflict serious injuries on Qin Nan in no time." Everyone's morale skyrocketed. Kill! The murderous intent of the heavens poured down on Qin Nan. Qin Nan was like a lone wolf. He wiped the blood off his lips and roared furiously, "You think you can inflict serious injuries on me?" Qin Nan soared into the sky and unleashed countless saber intents, killing the cultivators on the spot. This battle started to become more and more desperate. The Celestial Highnesses and the cultivators in the Master Realm saw Qin Nan in a frenzy. The people in Yi Tsang's alliance were in a frenzy too. They no longer cared about their own lives. They only wanted to kill the enemy in front of them. As time passed, the number of cultivators on the battlefield began to dwindle. Meanwhile, the number of wounds on Qin Nan's body continued to increase. After an unknown period of time, the entrance of the third void ancient path fell completely silent after a final miserable shriek. Qin Nan was holding the heaven-shattering saber. He was covered in blood as he stood amid the mountains of corpses like a peerless god of slaughter. That was it. Even though the aura that Qin Nan was emitting was not as strong as before, it was still a lot stronger, causing the crowd to feel a chill down their spines. Qin Nan had killed the remaining cultivators in Yi Tsang's alliance. That's too terrifying. Qin Nan's strength is unparalleled. If Tsang doesn't do it himself, no ruler of Dao can stop Qin Nan. Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang's pawns did inflict serious injuries on Qin Nan, but they didn't have a chance to fulfill their promise to Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang. Qin Nan might have won the battle and displayed his strength, but he's suffering from serious injuries. How is he going to achieve the Heaven Highness realm? Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang must have set up a backup plan to deal with Qin Nan. The Masters of Dao and Heaven Highness realm authorities blurted out. The impact of this battle on them was too great. Celestial Venerable Huang Yun, Celestial Venerable Duan Mu, and Celestial Venerable Li Pasheng all frowned with worry in their eyes. They looked at the celestial tree and saw the senior, whose reputation was second only to the 4 supreme heavenly highnesses, was wearing a stern look too. Yi Zhaoxin Qin Nan had broken through the trap set up by Tsang's alliance at the cost of serious injuries. Then, could Qin Nan break through the backup plan set up by Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang? Difficult. Was the 9 Heavens immortal realm going to fall into Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang's hands? Please remember the domain name of this book, .com. The mobile version of the book, .com. Chapter 2610. Right at this moment, in an ancient mystical ground at the center of the Kuan ground, a dazzling Buddhist light suddenly blossomed, illuminating the surroundings. Following this, the sky turned pitch black as countless bolts of lightning struck downward in the form of all kinds of rare phenomena. No, they came quickly and shattered quickly. In just a breath's time, they turned into nothingness and returned to silence. The brand-new Huang Fu-ju let out a joyful cry. His aura soon became that of an early-stage ruler. Damn it, Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang are really vicious. They left me with no choice but to disguise myself as one of those bald donkeys by setting up these heavenly eyes, Huang Fu-ju cursed as he sensed the power in his body. Master, I've just received some news. Moxie came up and reported the situation at the entrance of the Third Void Ancient Path. TSK, this kid is completely under Zhoudi's influence. He actually allowed someone else to ascend the sky cosmos first under such circumstances. How foolish! Huang Fu-ju sneered. Mo Wicked frowned and said, Can't Qin Nan choose to recuperate? The battle of the Heaven Highnesses will last for a month. It's only the 2nd day. Huang Fu-ju interrupted him and said, You're wrong. Why is Qin Nan in such a hurry to launch an all-out attack? This was because for someone at Tsang's level, as long as there was a grand occasion or a lucky chance, he could smoothly become an Empyrean. If I'm not wrong, Tsang will become a Heaven Highness tomorrow. If you're Tsang, what will you do after becoming a Heaven Highness? You'll definitely team up with Yi Zhaoxian and kill Qin Nan as soon as possible. Wicked immediately lowered his head and said loudly, Master is wise. Huang Fu-ju said helplessly, Moxie, don't try that. Everyone in the world can see it. Can't you see it too? Stop trying to flatter me in a roundabout way. His lips curled upward as he said, Besides, who doesn't know that I'm wise? Moxie said respectfully, Master is right. Master, are we going to stay in the Kuan ground or? Huang Fu-ju waved his hand and said, Is there even a need to ask? Of course, we'll go to Heavenly Qian. We'll prepare early and take advantage of the final moment of the Celestial Venerable battle to become a Celestial Venerable. We'll give Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang a big surprise. At the same time, at the entrance of the Third Void Ancient Path, crowd under the crowd's gaze, Qin Nan took a few deep breaths before grabbing the heaven-shattering saber. He turned into a peerless glow and sprang into the air. We're going to Heavenly Qian. The Masters of Dao were troubled. Even though they thought Qin Nan was going to lose the duel, they wanted to witness it with their own eyes. However, according to the rules of the battlefield of divine aura, cultivators in the Master Realm like them were not allowed to enter Tianqian. Arrival. As for the celestial exalts, they didn't shift their gazes away and continued watching. Qin Nan's speed was extremely fast. He rushed out of the void ancient path and officially arrived at Heavenly Qian. Qin Nan's ears were filled with all kinds of explosions. It was a sign that battles were taking place on the land. Qin Nan lifted his gaze and saw a faint purple sky and a faint golden sky respectively. It was like the Taiji diagram. He immediately realized the Nanshan battlefield was under the purple sky, while the Beiga battlefield was under the golden sky. Division on top of that, with his outstanding senses, he noticed two vague ancient doors above the two battlefield. He also noticed that the ground was a few times stronger than the ground. Every inch of the rift was filled with a mysterious aura that he had never heard of before. Qin Nan glanced at the badge and murmured, "Is it in the middle of the Nanshan battlefield?" Qin Nan did not hesitate. He turned into a ray of light and flew into the distance. However, at that instant, Qin Nan's figure came to a stop. Void the celestial exalts in the sky noticed something too. They all looked at Nan. That's... Qin Nan raised his head and looked at the sky. He saw that at the border between the Nanshan battlefield and the northern battlefield, the sky for hundreds of thousands of miles had suddenly turned pitch black. Furthermore, it was spinning non-stop, with thunder and lightning rolling inside. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. His eye technique immediately penetrated the darkness and saw the end of it. Then it was a spacious rift with 5 magnificent figures standing in the middle. Their figures were emitting immortal glows as they lowered their heads and stared at Qin Nan with cold gazes from a great distance away. Their celestial exalts were startled when they saw the 5 figures too. Then the person leading them was wearing a white outfit. She was none other than the strongest celestial exalt in the world, Yi Zhaoxian. Yi, the person on her left, was a rogue cultivator among the 15 celestial exalts, Yang Ling Tianzuan. Right, the person on her right was the patriarch of the Zheng clan, Heaven Venerate Jing Di. The 2 people standing furthest away were Heaven Venerate Impermanence, the patriarch of the Mumen sect, and Heaven Venerate and Shao, a rogue cultivator among the 15 celestial exalts. Yi Zhaoxian was leading 4 Heaven Venerates to the sky above Tianqian. Could it be that Yi Zhaoxian and Song had altered the rules of the battlefield of God Aura so that they could participate in the battle themselves? How is that possible? It's the core rule of the battlefield of God Aura. One by one, the Empyreans noticed this and could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. The celestial tree was startled. He subconsciously unleashed his aura and was about to fly over, but 3 powerful forces pressed down on his shoulder at the same time. Only Heaven Venerate Huangyun said softly, "Senior, the Li clan and the Wang clan have already done well by not adding insult to injury. The Li clan and the Wang clan shouldn't interfere." The celestial tree took a deep breath and said, "Don't worry, I'm not that impulsive." However, he clenched his fists in his sleeves. Baidu search the Cloud Pavilion novel website, allowing you to experience the latest chapters and chapters. All the novels are updated in seconds. Chapter 2611. On the other side of the rift, Heavenly Venerate Ling Huang was startled. He did not expect it to be Yi Zhaoxian and Song's backup plan. He had to. He knew that Qin Nan was already injured. Could he withstand the combined attacks of Yi Zhaoxian and the other Heavenly Venerates on his own? Even if he managed to survive the attack, he would most likely lose the ability to fight due to the injuries. Heavenly Venerate Ling Huang's eyes hardened. He would not let Yi Zhaoxian and the others get what they wanted even if he had to sacrifice his life. Cultivator Ling Huang, please calm down. Cassiopeia on the ownerless heaven pattern beside him said with a dark expression, "If Yi Zhaoxian and the other Heavenly Venerates could make a move, why didn't they take advantage of the battle on the 3rd Void Ancient Path? Why did they have to wait until our master entered Tianqian?" Heavenly Venerate Ling Huang was startled. He said, "You mean," Cassiopeia said, "I'm not sure yet, but it's most likely what I've guessed. We'll find out later." Meanwhile, at the edge of the Nanshan battlefield in Tianqian, Qin Nan, Yi Zhaoxian, and the other Heavenly Venerates exchanged glances across the rift. He could clearly sense the murderous intent in their gazes. It made him uneasy. The first batch of heavenly venerates is pretty strong now, Qin Nan exclaimed in his heart without showing any fear. Yang Ling Tianzuan, Heavenly Venerate Jing Di, Heavenly Venerate Wu Chang, and Heavenly Venerate and Xiao had all reached the peak Heavenly Venerate realm. The first three were peak Heavenly Venerates in their own realms. They were not far away from the ground perception realm. Qin Nan quickly withdrew his gaze. He did not care about it at all. His figure sped up and sprang forward like a beam of light. It's meaningless, Qin Nan. No matter how fast you are or where you're hiding, you won't be able to escape our divine sense as long as you're in Tianqian. Yi Zhaoxian's voice echoed across the rift. Only in the depths of the void, Yi Zhaoxian formed a seal, and an ancient diagram slowly rose behind him. There was a demonic vertical pupil drawn on the diagram. This was a rare treasure that Yi Zhaoxian had obtained from the Blue Dome. The many eyes of turbid heaven that he had set up in the Kuan-Di were all through this rare treasure. Now Yi Zhaoxian was using this unique treasure to monitor Tianqian and Qin Nan from the void. Qin Nan ignored him and did not resist. He just continued to move forward. Now he was already not far from the Nanshan battlefield. In his vision, there were several dozen strange creatures that were currently fighting against each other. That place was the periphery of the Nanshan battlefield. With at the same time, the heavenly venerates in the void also discovered something strange. Why aren't Yi Zhaoxian and the others doing anything? Now that Qin Nan is injured, this is the best time to attack Qin Nan. Could it be that Yi Zhaoxian and the others still need some time to prepare before they can break the rules of the battlefield of divine aura and attack Qin Nan? The heavenly venerates were all pondering. There was definitely something wrong here. Tong the heavenly Tao tree used its supreme eye technique to observe for a moment before saying slowly, "If I'm not wrong, Yi Zhaoxian and the others won't attack Qin Nan for the time being." In the distance, Heavenly Venerate Huang Yun asked curiously, "Why is that?" The Heavenly Tao tree said indifferently, "Heavenly Venerates are not allowed to enter or interfere. This is the core rule of the battlefield of divine aura. Yi Zhaoxian definitely can't break this core rule completely. After all, the battlefield of divine aura is formed from the land of divine aura in the Blue Dome's middle mystic realm. It's no small matter. Hence, Yi Zhaoxian obviously paid a huge price after interfering with this core rule. Furthermore, Yi Zhaoxian and the others can't use their full strength." Heavenly Venerate Yun and the other two nodded. This was inevitable. If they could use their full strength, then Qin Nan would have died long ago. There wouldn't be a need to painstakingly set up an inescapable trap. As long as Yi Zhaoxian stood guard above the battlefield of divine aura alone, it would be enough. Not only can they not use their full strength, but the power they can use is also very small. It's so small that now that Qin Nan is injured, Yi Zhaoxian and the others still don't have the confidence to directly kill Qin Nan or make Qin Nan lose his ability to fight. Also, they can definitely only attack once. The Celestial Tree said. This means. Heavenly Venerate Huang Yun's mind flashed, and he said, Yi Zhaoxian and the others have been staring at Qin Nan's figure from outside the battlefield of divine aura and haven't made a move. They plan to interfere when Qin Nan is about to become a celestial venerable? The Celestial Tree sighed softly and said, "That's right. That's it." Heavenly Venerate Huang Yun and the other two immediately fell silent. This situation was definitely better than Yi Zhaoxian and the others attacking Qin Nan with their full strength. But, yes, it was only better by a little. Jean. How crucial was it to become a celestial venerable? Indeed, for celestial venerates and the unfathomable Yi Zhaoxian were eyeing him covetously and ready to attack at any time. How could he still advance? That, even if Qin Nan welcomed the opportunity to advance, it would definitely be destroyed by Yi Zhaoxian and the others. Most importantly, Qin Nan only had one chance. Why? Because if Qin Nan could not advance to Celestial Venerable right away, Song would definitely have already become an celestial venerable. At that time, Song would replace Yi Zhaoxian and the rest to stare at Qin Nan. Qin Nan would also be unable to advance to celestial venerable a second time. Failing to advance twice in a row, then Qin Nan would definitely not have another chance. Dang. However, this kind of situation did not mean that there was no chance to change it. As long as there were several powerful celestial venerates who made a move against Yi Zhaoxian and the rest at the critical moment, they would be able to hold back Yi Zhaoxian and the rest. But, yes, Qin Nan's alliance only had one celestial venerable. But, furthermore, since Yi Zhaoxian and the rest had prepared such a backup plan, wouldn't they guard against other celestial venerates attacking? Namely, even if other celestial venerates were willing, would Qin Nan really be able to advance in a situation where Qin Nan was seriously injured? The celestial tree sighed faintly and said, Qin Nan, Qin Nan, you originally still had a chance, but you just had to bear it alone. How am I supposed to help you? The celestial tree thought of this. It wanted to help Qin Nan. Even if Yi Zhaoxian was on guard, it was still willing to help Qin Nan. But it was no longer alone. There were countless clansmen of the Li and Wang families behind it. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 26:12. Under the gaze of Yi Zhaoxian and the other Heaven Highnesses, the Celestial Tree, and the rest of the Heaven Highnesses, Qin Nan entered the Nanshan battlefield. Qin. His speed did not slow down at all. It was still shocking, resulting in a great uproar. In the current Nanshan battlefield, such a move was undoubtedly unwise. This was because after 1 or 2 days, countless opportunities had appeared in the Nanshan battlefield and the northern battlefield. Strange phenomena appeared everywhere, and rays of light shone for 10,000 zhang. Every fortunate encounter was targeted by the rulers of Tao from the 9 heavens immortal realm or the strange creatures in the blue dome. The rulers of Tao from the 9 heavens immortal realm might not target Qin Nan, but in the eyes of the strange creatures, Qin Nan was like a predator that had come from afar to rob them of their fortunate encounters. Roar! Fruitas expected, less than 10 breaths after Qin Nan entered the Nanshan battlefield, 5 strange creatures were enraged. Some let out a roar into the sky while others uttered strange sounds. They simultaneously executed different arts from the 9 heavens immortal realm to attack Qin Nan from afar. Kill anyone that dares to stop me, Qin Nan said coldly. The sacred glow he was emitting turned into 99 sacred swords that shattered the spells and shattered the 5 strange creatures into pieces. Following this, the 99 sacred glowing swords returned to Qin Nan's side and circled around him like a web of swords, protecting him from the attacks. However, as Qin Nan continued to move forward, the strange creatures continued to attack Qin Nan, as if they were unable to sense how powerful Qin Nan was. In the end, the sacred glowing swords shattered them mercilessly. Half an hour later, Qin Nan arrived at the center of the Nanshan battlefield. He glanced into the distance with his eye technique and saw immortal palaces and ancient tombs in the distance. Many peak rulers of Tao and strange creatures were competing for the treasures. Is that Qin Nan? He seems to be injured? TSK, Qin Nan is not simple. That's right. Yi Tsang's alliance had set up such an inescapable trap. Yet, they managed to rush over with just some injuries. Listen carefully, don't talk about Qin Nan, and don't provoke him. Many of the rulers had already noticed Qin Nan. Although some of them had other thoughts when they saw that Qin Nan was injured, when they thought about how Qin Nan had broken through that terrifying net, those thoughts naturally faded away. Qin Nan glanced at his surroundings. His figure suddenly blurred, and he arrived not far away from a peak ruler. He conjured a giant hand and grabbed the peak ruler. He said indifferently, "Where did Song go?" That peak dominator was stunned for a moment, but he quickly reacted and pointed ahead. He entered that place. Nan immediately released him and said, "Thank you." Song from a distance, the place he had entered looked like a mountain range floating in the depths of the void. However, if one looked closely, they would see that the mountain range was very illusory, like a picture. Qin Nan transformed into a beam of light and charged into the endless mountain range. Is he preparing to break through to the Empyrean level? The celestial tree and the other Empyreans all had the same thought. Yi Zhaoxian and the other four remained unmoved. They merely activated the ancient diagram and unleashed an even stronger power of insight, allowing them to completely see through the scenery within the mountain range. After entering the illusory mountain range, Qin Nan felt as if he had passed through the void and arrived in an unfamiliar space. Looking up, he saw a vast and boundless grassland. It was a lush green expanse. Broken mountains floated in the sky, emitting a desolate aura. Qin Nan also heard a faint rumble. It was obvious that a great battle was taking place in front of him. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. He quickly rushed forward. Everywhere he passed, Qin Nan saw a lot of potholes and rocks with strange creatures. Around 10 breaths later, Qin Nan came to a stop. Boom, boom, boom. Ahead of him was a golden lake with a circumference of a few 100,000 miles. Above the lake, Song was alone, like a god descending from the heavens. He was relying on a mysterious formation hidden at the bottom of the lake to fight with the strange creatures around him. In addition to that, Qin Nan also saw a flower growing at the center of the lake. This was a flower that Qin Nan had never seen before. It was over 150 feet tall and had over 100 petals. Each petal was light blue with a flowing light on its surface, as if it contained some kind of divine power. With Qin Nan's outstanding senses, he could tell that the strange flower contained an obscure force. Very clearly, Song had come for this flower. He wanted to use it to ascend to the position of heavenly venerate. At this moment, Yi Zhaoxian and the other heavenly venerates also saw this scene. Their eyes immediately turned cold. What does Qin Nan mean by this? Yang Ling Tianzuan was stunned. Lord Song chose this place. Why is he here too? Could it be that he wants to compete with Lord Song? Indeed, shouldn't he avoid Lord Song now? Heavenly Venerate Dark Owl also frowned. Immortal Zhao's eyes flickered as she said calmly, I understand Qin Nan's intention now. Perhaps he never wanted to become a heavenly venerate from the start. The moment these words came out, the other 4 Empyreans were all greatly shocked. In this world, only Tsang has the ability to find the undying cycle mountain. Yi Zhaoxian's eyes flickered. If we can kill Tsang, the undying cycle mountain will have nothing to worry about. By then, Qin Nan can still choose to ascend to the heavenly venerate realm next time, or the time after that. Meanwhile, above the lake, Tsang turned around and saw Qin Nan standing beside the lake as he sensed something. Only Qin Nan smiled at him when he saw him. He raised the heaven-shattering saber in his hand. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm here to kill you. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 26:13. Song was startled, but he soon burst out laughing. Haha, Qin Nan, you've given me quite the surprise. No wonder you've come in person. It turns out that you've already decided not to use this opportunity to achieve the Heaven Highness realm. You only want to kill me. Song took a deep look at Qin Nan and said, however, you're right. If I'm dead, even if Yi Zhaoxian becomes a Supreme Highness, she won't be able to achieve the same in a short time. You'll have plenty of time to catch your breath. You can look for a new opportunity. Qin Nan smiled and said, Are you sure that's my plan? Song raised his brows and said, Oh? Could it be that you have a deeper plan? Qin Nan made his move. He charged at Song with a tremendous sacred glow and said thunderously, I can kill you and achieve the Heaven Highness realm after that. Song was startled. Qin Nan was seriously injured, and Yi Zhaoxian and the other Heaven Highnesses were watching him, yet Qin Nan still wanted to kill him and achieve the Heaven Highness realm? Ha ha ha, Qin Nan, I'd like to see how you're going to do it. Song collected his thoughts and burst out laughing. If you can do it, I'll acknowledge you as the strongest person in the 9 heavens. As soon as his voice fell, Song formed a seal with both hands and instantly mobilized the entire lake. Huge pillars of water rushed out from the lake and transformed into ferocious water dragons. They roared at the sky, swung their tails, and slashed down with their claws. Bang bang bang! A series of deafening explosions took place. Currently, Qin Nan and Song only had each other in their eyes. They had chosen to ignore the strange creatures that were initially there. Qin Nan had no intention of using the strange creatures against Song. He kept moving around and unleashed his saber intents without holding back. They would sweep the strange creatures into his saber intents and crush them into pieces. The strange creatures fell into chaos. They treated Qin Nan and Song as their enemies and attacked one another fiercely. The situation was slightly chaotic. Do you think, ants like you, have the right to interfere in our battle? Song said coldly. 33 brilliant rays burst out of his back. One by one, the Heavenly Emperor's pearls rose up one after another. A tremendous pressure surged out from them, causing the entire lake to boil violently. 9 Heavens Immortal Realm Map, suppress everything. Song waved his hand. The 33 Heavenly Emperor pearls floated in the air and formed a map encapsulating Qin Nan and the strange creatures. Whoosh! At that instant, Qin Nan immediately felt a tremendous pressure bursting out from it, like a surging heavenly river. Qin Nan was not intimidated at all. He slashed forward and shattered it into pieces. However, in the next instant, a wave of boundless pressure once again surged over. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. The sacred glow and demonic glow on his back burst out and formed an illusionary mountain looming over Qin Nan. Despite the continuous pressure, Qin Nan's figure was not affected at all. In comparison to Qin Nan, the strange creatures were in a worse state. They uttered cries into the sky and tried their best to defend themselves, yet they were still being suppressed by the pressure. Explosions took place all over their bodies. Boom! Sword of the 9 Heavens, judge everything. Song Tatian came forward. He gathered the light of the 33 Heavenly Emperor pearls and slashed at Qin Nan. Qin Nan went forward and threw a punch forward. Bang bang bang! The two engaged in a fierce battle once again. The speed of the two of them was extremely fast. Looking from afar, they looked like 2 bright rays of light that were constantly colliding. Every time they collided, an extremely frightening shockwave would be produced. Qin Nan frowned all of a sudden. After a few breaths' time, Qin Nan was aware that something was not right. There was something strange about Song. He seemed to be a little weak. Meanwhile, in the rift, Yi Zhaoxian and the other Heaven Highnesses clearly saw the battle between Qin Nan and Song through the rare artifact. It seems like Master Song is being suppressed? Yang Ling Tianzuan, Heaven Highness Dark Owl, and the others were astounded. After all, Qin Nan was currently injured. Besides, Qin Nan had only fought Song for a few breaths. Could it be that Master Song had expended too much energy? Or was Song purposely showing his weakness? Yi Zhaoxian frowned slightly. After pondering for a moment, she suddenly thought of something and could not help but shake her head. This Song has really set a deep trap. I never expected that he would even be able to deceive me. Empyrean Yang Ling and the rest were slightly stunned when they heard that. Get ready, it's time for us to make our move, Yi Zhaoxian said calmly. Now! Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others were astounded. It was clearly not the best time. However, they soon collected their thoughts and did not question Yi Zhaoxian. To them, Yi Zhaoxian was their leader, their patriarch. Since Yi Zhaoxian had given the order, they only had to carry it out. Got it! Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others were excited. They immediately took out a rare artifact and inserted their Heaven Highness force into it. The 4 heavenly treasures suddenly erupted with a blinding light. Like a torrential river, they rushed towards the divine aura battlefield below. Bang! The light seemed to have hit an invisible barrier, and soon, it was unable to continue forward. Open! Celestial Venerate Yang Ling and the other Celestial Venerates shouted in unison. The light of the 4 rare treasures continued to surge, and runes surged out from them and landed on the invisible barrier. Not long after, a pitch-black gap gradually appeared and grew bigger. The auras of Tianqian and Dikuan spread in all directions. The 4 Heaven Highnesses and Yi Zhaoxian immediately sent their divine sense into the gap. They passed through the illusionary mountain range and landed on Qin Nan. They locked onto Qin Nan from a great distance away. They are about to make their move. The Heaven Highnesses hiding in other places immediately sensed something. Please remember the domain name of this book. .com. The mobile version of the book. .com. Chapter 26:14. They're making their move now? Heaven Highness Ling Huang clenched his fists. Even though he was trying his best, he could not conceal his nervousness. After learning that Yi Zhaoxian and Song had set up an inescapable trap, Heaven Highness Ling Huang, Princess Miao Miao, and the others had a discussion. The initial plan was for the entire Qin Nan alliance to attack and disrupt Yi Zhaoxian and Song's plan. However, Qin Nan had vetoed the idea. Qin Nan's plan was for Qin Nan to lead the army and attract the enemy's attention. Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and the rulers of Dao would be able to break free from Yi Zhaoxian and Song's trap. They would then have a chance to achieve the Heaven Highness realm. Qin Nan would then kill Song. His main goal was no longer to achieve the Heaven Highness realm, but to kill Song. Once Song was dead, Yi Zhaoxian would be the only one left in the world. They would still have a lot of opportunities in the future. Heaven Highness Ling Huang did not agree with the plan, but Qin Nan was too stubborn. He could not change Qin Nan's mind. Therefore, Heaven Highness Ling Huang had no choice but to accept it. However, he did not expect Yi Zhaoxian and the other Heaven Highnesses would make a move in person. Qin Nan was already injured. How much strength did he have left after fending off Yi Zhaoxian and the other Heaven Highnesses? Could Qin Nan still kill Song? Cultivator Ling Huang, we have no choice but to believe in our master. We believe he can kill Song, Jia Yi said. Don't overthink it. Heaven Highness Ling Huang took a deep breath and said, Senior, I understand. Don't worry, I won't act on impulse. In the distance, the celestial tree, Heaven Highness Huang Yun, and the rest of the authorities who remained neutral could not help but feel nervous. They knew the crucial moment had arrived. The storm on the battlefield of God's breath was about to come to an end. The situation in the 9 heavens immortal realm was about to change greatly. At the same time, at the center of the Nanshan battlefield in Tianqian, the rulers of Dao and the strange creatures that were competing for the fortunate encounters suddenly sensed 5 faint yet terrifying auras descending upon them from a distance. What's going on? Why is there a gap there? They all raised their heads, and their expressions changed slightly. Immediately after, they clearly felt 5 shocking and invisible forces surge out from the gap, landing on the illusory mountain range that was suspended in the air. The huge mountain range suddenly shattered, and the small space within the mountain range appeared before everyone's eyes. That's Qin Nan and Song? They immediately recognized the 2 godlike figures. Then, they felt that the 5 shocking auras between heaven and earth had suddenly increased by a lot. They subconsciously looked up again and saw 5 stalwart figures shining with divine light in the depths of the darkness of the gap, faintly discernible. It was as if the 5 legendary gods were overlooking the mortal world. Qin Nan. The 4 Empyreans opened their mouths at the same time. Their thunderous voices passed through countless distances and resounded above the center of the Nanshan battlefield, shaking the heavens and earth. The rulers of Dao who were confused on the Nanshan battlefield immediately came to a realization. Did they break the rules of the battlefield of God's breath? They are here specifically to kill Qin Nan? Gasp, how terrifying, 5 Heaven Highnesses are here in person. On top of it, the one leading them is Yi Zhaoxian in person, setting up an inescapable trap, and sending 5 Heaven Highnesses just to deal with a peak ruler realm was something that had never happened before. Husband. Xiao Nanzi. Alliance leader Qin Nan. Jiang Bailan, Shui Mengyao, Princess Miao Miao, Mingqiu progenitor, and the others who had also entered the Nanshan battlefield were startled. They did not expect such a turn of events. However, what was done could not be undone. They were powerless to change anything. They could only watch helplessly. To be more precise, no one could change anything. Qin Nan had to face all of this himself. At this moment, Qin Nan, who was at the center of the storm, sensed the divine thoughts of the 5 Heaven Highnesses. He felt their pressure and pressure. However, his expression did not change in the slightest. He lifted his head and laughed loudly. After watching me for so long, you finally can't help but make a move? Then come at me. Let me see how much power you can muster by breaking the rules. Let's see if you can hurt me. His voice was not very loud and clear, but it was like a peerless blade that directly entered the void, clearly entering the ears of Yi Zhaoxian and the other 4 people. How arrogant! Yang Ling Tianzuan, Heaven Highness and Xiao, and the others were infuriated. They did not expect Qin Nan to say something like that at such a crucial moment. It was as if he had no respect for them at all. Even though Qin Nan was the reincarnation of 2 Supreme Highnesses, Qin Nan was only a ruler of Tao, while they were peak Heaven Highnesses. On top of that, they had surpassed ordinary peak Heaven Highnesses. Dai. Yang Ling Tianzuan and Heaven Highness and Xiao made their move. In the darkness, they emitted a glow that resembled the ancient sun. The power in their bodies was completely unleashed. Killing Tao of the Void. Ethereal Ultimate Tao. Rotating Tao of Life and Death. After breaking through to the Heaven Highness realm, they were able to master their own set of rules, just like how Eternal Night Heaven Highness had mastered the Eternal Night rules. Right now, they had all unleashed their own Tao of rules, evolving it into their strongest killing techniques as they suddenly blasted down. When the 4 killing techniques reached the divine aura battlefield, a formless power of the rules of order began to circulate and weaken the 4 killing techniques significantly. Please remember the domain name of this book, .com, Wonderful Book Mobile Version Website, .com. Chapter 26:15. However, they were still extremely terrifying. At the center of the Nanshan battlefield, the ruler of Tao and the strange creatures were greatly astounded. They felt like they had just seen 4 heavenly rivers roaring at Qin Nan with tremendous auras. Many of the rulers of Tao and the strange creatures sensed great fear. They sensed the danger of death. They instinctively ran in the other direction without any hesitation, afraid that they would be caught in the crossfire. At that instant, Qin Nan made his move. Under the crowd's gaze, the sacred and demonic rays on Qin Nan's back intertwined into a pair of enormous wings. They flapped vigorously, boosting Qin Nan's speed once again as he charged at the 4 deadly attacks. Formation of the 10,000 Worlds, Sacred Demon Mountain. Qin Nan let out a roar and threw a punch forward. The punch didn't unleash any force. Instead, the tip of his fist emitted countless rays of light that transformed into a magnificent mountain suppressing the rift. Almost half of the mountain had materialized. It was emitting a unique aura, as if it was the origin of the world, the center of it. Bang! With a deafening boom, the space within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles was instantly obliterated into pieces. A strong gust of wind swept across the place, blowing the robes and hair of the rulers of Tao to the side. At the center of the collision, the mountain that Qin Nan had summoned shook vigorously. Many cracks even appeared on it. However, it managed to block the attack. Qin Nan was right behind it. He didn't even take a single step back. How terrifying! A Heaven Highness murmured. Even though the four Heaven Highnesses had only used a tenth of their full strength, Qin Nan was still injured. The most terrifying part is yet to come, the celestial tree said with a stern look. As expected, not long after he spoke, Yi Zhaoxian made her move. No one knew why Yi Zhaoxian didn't attack together with the other four Empyreans. But when Yi Zhaoxian attacked, whether it was the Empyreans, the Sovereigns, or the strange creatures, they all understood one thing. Peak Empyreans also had their differences. There was a huge gap. It was a wisp of sword light. It was bright and dazzling, like the Milky Way above the nine heavens. When it arrived above the battlefield of divine aura at an unbelievable speed, the vast sky above the Nanshan battlefield was illuminated in the color of snow. At this moment, the sword light suddenly changed. It actually shattered and turned into countless specks of light. Then, the specks of light quickly gathered together and turned into a 10,000 feet tall stone tablet. The stone tablet was incomparably illusory, making people feel that it was not real. It was like a painting, but the aura it emitted covered the entire center of the Nanshan battlefield. Countless new buds sprouted from the vast land and grew into celestial flowers and celestial trees at an astonishing speed. At the same time, the immortal trees and flowers began to wilt and wither. The earth turned into yellow sand, the seawater began to dry up, and mountain ranges began to form. This was the power of spacetime. Yi Zhaoxian had also summoned the spacetime tablet. However, this time, Yi Zhaoxian's spacetime tablet was completely different from before. It displayed the inconceivable power of spacetime. Qin Nan's eyes flashed. He didn't hesitate in the slightest to circulate a brand new Tao art within his body. The spacetime scripture. This was the core technique of the incomparably mysterious spacetime temple. No one sensed the changes in Qin Nan's body. In their eyes, Qin Nan only drew his saber and charged into the clouds, as if he was using all his strength to unleash a peerless saber light. Rumble! Qin Nan and the spacetime tablet were instantly swallowed up by the light from the collision. No one could see Qin Nan and the spacetime tablet, but they could also sense the auras of Qin Nan and the spacetime tablet. What's the result? Yi Zhaoxian and the other celestial venerables, as well as the other celestial venerables and the rulers, all stared at the scene unblinkingly. After a full 20 breaths of time, everyone saw the light dissipate. The crowd could only see Qin Nan standing above the shattered rift with a saber in his hand. Even though his aura was a lot weaker than before, with a trail of blood on his lips, and the demonic glow emitting from his body had dimmed, his figure was still standing straight. He was like an undying divine tree. He blocked it. At this moment, the entire world was in an uproar. The rulers and the strange creatures were all visibly moved, unable to believe what they were seeing. He really blocked it. And Qin Nan hasn't lost his ability to fight. The celestial venerables all sucked in cold breath. The shock in their hearts was indescribable. Qin Nan's strength had completely surpassed theirs. Good kid. He actually hid his strength. The celestial tree lost its composure and exclaimed repeatedly. He blocked it. 5 celestial venerables couldn't do anything to Qin Nan. Celestial venerables Ling Huang and the others, as well as those in Qin Nan's alliance, were all overjoyed. How can this be? In the endless void, Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others' expressions were frighteningly dark. At the same time, if one looked closely, one would see a trace of fear in their eyes. Could a peak ruler be comparable to a peak celestial venerate? Yi Zhaoxian's brows were tightly knitted together. He was well aware of the power of the spacetime tablet. Back on the third void ancient path, his 6 clones had used the spacetime tablet, but Qin Nan had easily shattered it. That had made him a little suspicious. Thus, he had chosen to use the spacetime tablet again this time. He hadn't used any other methods, but this time, Qin Nan had shattered the steel of time and space with ease? Something's not right. If Qin Nan had used some other method, it definitely wouldn't have been so easy. His method must be able to restrain the spacetime tablet. Then what power in this world can restrain the spacetime tablet? Only the power of spacetime can restrain spacetime. When he thought of this, Yi Zhaoxian's eyes instantly turned incomparably cold. Please remember the domain name of this book. .com. Wonderful Book Mobile Version Website. .com. Chapter 26:16. However, it was as if Qin Nan, the one who had caused the storm, was unaware of it. He did not take a break, nor did he waste any time. He looked at Song. Song arrived above the lake. The 33 orbs of the Heaven Emperor floated above his head. He unleashed a flame that encapsulated the flower in the lake to refine it. The aura that Song was emitting was getting stronger and stronger. He did not bother when the 5 Heaven Highnesses attacked Qin Nan, nor did he use the opportunity to deal with Qin Nan. He chose to refine the flower instead. Qin Nan turned into a ray of light and sprang at Song. Whoosh! Qin Nan made his move. He executed a brilliant saber glow that encapsulated the entire lake. Song was unfazed. He continued to refine the flower. However, the 33 orbs of the Heaven Emperor above his head began to activate on their own. They emitted a tremendous glow and formed countless runes in the air, forming a wall of runes that encapsulated the entire lake. Above, bang bang bang, the water in the lake boiled as strong gusts surged. Song blocked the saber attack. Break! Qin Nan arrived above the lake and threw a punch forward. A sacred demonic glow lit up the sky. The 33 orbs of the Heaven Emperor shuddered vigorously. They unleashed wisps of energy that formed several huge formations to protect the lake. Bang bang bang! However, the power of that punch was too terrifying. The grand formation shattered one after another. Even the 33 Celestial Emperor's pearls couldn't withstand the power. They emitted a buzzing sound and were knocked back into Tsong's body. Song's eyes sprang open and emitted a godly glow. Qin Nan, I shall use you to achieve the Heaven Highness realm today. Song formed hand seals with both hands, and the surrounding heaven and earth began to change color intensely. Surges of majestic power gushed out. However, this time, Qin Nan did not make his move. He looked at Song in silence. Song raised his brows. Many people were aware of the change in Qin Nan's attitude. I have to admit that I'm no match for you in terms of setting up and tactics. Qin Nan let out a sigh. Oh? You discovered it? The corners of Tsong's mouth curled up. The aura that he had released also stopped. Both of them calmed down. Why aren't they fighting anymore? Outside the void, the celestial venerables were stunned. Empyrean Ling Huang also had a blank look. Wasn't their plan this time to kill Song? Why didn't Qin Nan do anything? Suddenly, Qin Nan made his move. He just casually slapped his palm forward. What was strange was that Song did not dodge. Instead, he allowed the palm strike to land on his chest with a loud bang. What was even stranger was that such an ordinary palm strike caused Song's body to tremble violently. His face turned deathly pale, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. That powerful aura continued to fall, becoming extremely weak. What's going on? As of this moment, all of the Celestials, the Imperial Lords, and all of the other living creatures were completely flabbergasted. How could Song be so easily injured? No. Something was wrong. Meanwhile, on the northern battlefield, none of the Imperial Lords or the other living creatures on the northern battlefield were aware of what was happening on the Nanshan battlefield. At a glance, the entire northern battlefield was engulfed in the flames of war. Countless people were doing everything they could to fight for opportunities. However, all of the Imperial Lords and the other living creatures suddenly sensed something and looked toward the center of the battlefield. They saw an incomparably resplendent beam of light erupting from a towering divine mountain that floated between heaven and earth. It shot straight into the sky. The vast sky instantly turned pitch black and began to twist and distort. An invisible, oppressive aura swept across the entire northern battlefield like a storm. The celestial tree and the other celestial venerables immediately sensed this and looked over in unison. Is someone becoming a celestial venerate? One of the celestial venerables was astonished. That can't be right. If it's just becoming a celestial venerate, why would it cause such a huge commotion? How could it affect the entire northern battlefield? When they had become celestial venerables, it hadn't affected even 1/10 of the northern battlefield. Could it be? The celestial tree suddenly had a thought and its pupils shrank sharply. Soon, the scene of the northern battlefield changed again. Countless bolts of lightning suddenly appeared in the dark sky, turning into countless dragons and snakes that slithered and slithered, emitting a deafening roar. Following that, the huge divine mountain exploded without any warning, turning into countless fragments. A figure shot up into the sky and into the depths of the firmament. It was a white-haired old man with a face full of wrinkles. However, as the old man shot up into the sky, his face and body underwent a shocking transformation. He had become Tsang. When Tsang was setting up the divine aura battlefield, he had also released a clone in addition to the inescapable net and the 5 celestial venerables. As for his true self, he changed his appearance and quietly snuck into the northern battleground. No one knew about this move, not even Yi Zhaoxian. He wanted to deceive the world so that no accidents would happen when he became a celestial venerate. Eternity is but a dream. When I wake up, things have changed. I was born to be the celestial emperor. Who can stop me? Tsang's voice was incomparably loud and majestic, resounding throughout the entire Tianqian. The countless bolts of lightning in the sky instantly poured down and drowned his body, allowing him to rise from the ashes within the formless lightning. Please remember the domain name of this book. .com. The mobile version of the wonderful book website. .com. Chapter 26:17. In the endless void, the celestial exalts who saw this were all shocked. Tsang has successfully become a celestial exalt. With the baptism of the lightning tribulation, no one could stop Tsang. Celestial exalt Evernight, Celestial exalt Huangyun, Celestial exalt Duanmu, Celestial exalt Plentiful Treasure, Celestial exalt Lu Fang, Celestial exalt Li Pushing, and the others who had previously maintained a neutral stance had ugly expressions. The overall situation was basically set. Qin Nan had personally broken the inescapable net set up by Yi Tsang's alliance, then withstood the attacks of 5 celestial exalts. He was already heavily injured and probably didn't have much combat strength left. Now that Tsang had successfully become a celestial exalt, he could replace Yi Zhaoxian and the other celestial exalts and target Qin Nan outside the battlefield. Under such circumstances, how could Qin Nan become a celestial exalt? When the battle of the celestial exalts ended, Qin Nan's alliance would be powerless against Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang. They would definitely be defeated. Is there really no way to change this? Celestial Tree sighed. The wrinkles on his face seemed to deepen, making him look even older. In the distance, Celestial Exalt Ling Huang's face turned pale and his fingers trembled. Qin Nan's heaven-slaying plan had failed. Their Qin Nan's alliance was about to be destroyed. In a trance, Heavenly Venerate Ling Huang seemed to see the flames of war engulfing the undying Cycle Mountain. Many familiar and unfamiliar figures fell unwillingly into pools of blood one after another. Ling Huang, believe in my master. Kasayapa's face was solemn, his voice like thunder. Celestial Exalt Ling Huang's body shook, his eyes filled with confusion. Believe in Qin Nan? Now that things had come to this, was there still a chance? Unlike them, Yang Ling Tianzuan, Celestial Exalt Wu Chang, and the others beside Yi Zhaoxian were overjoyed. They had indeed made the right choice. They could almost imagine that after they annihilated the Qin-Nan alliance, their respective families and sects would obtain enormous benefits. They would instantly become a peak power second only to the Yi-Tsang alliance. Back then, I advised you to join Yi-Tsang's alliance but you refused. I'm sure you're regretting it now, right? Yang Ling Tianzuan, Impermanence, and the other two were very happy. Joining Yi-Tsang's alliance at the beginning and joining Yi-Tsang's alliance in the middle were completely different. At the same time, on the Nanshan battlefield, although the northern battlefront was quite a distance away, Tsang's ascension to the celestial realm had caused a huge commotion. Therefore, all of the sovereigns and strange creatures on the Nanshan battlefront were able to see the dark clouds and the madness, thunder and lightning. They didn't have to wonder for long. When the peak sovereigns of the northern battlefield passed on the news, they were all stunned. Especially the cultivators of the Qin-Nan alliance. The impact on their hearts was enormous. They all knew that Qin-Nan hadn't chosen to break through to the celestial realm from the start. Instead, he had chosen to let them do it while Qin-Nan killed Tsang. But now their plan had failed. Is it all over? The cultivators who were trying their best to break through to the heaven-venerate realm felt a sense of helplessness in their hearts. Their auras and light fell and dimmed. Even Ancestor Mingchu's face was slightly pale. Qin-Nan had returned to the ancient era, experienced so many things, and become a supreme celestial. Yet, he still couldn't turn the situation around? Qin-Nan's 3 women were also affected. However, Princess Miao Miao only took a breath's time to forcefully suppress the sense of helplessness in her heart. She reached out her hand and tied the edge of the blood-stained dress onto her forehead, as her beautiful eyes stared at Qin-Nan. Her beautiful eyes were filled with determination, unyielding and unyielding. It's not over yet. She transmitted her voice. Her emotions completely exploded. Even though we failed to kill Tsang and let him achieve the Heaven Highness realm, it doesn't mean the Alliance leader has no chance. Once Tsang achieves the Heaven Highness realm, he will be rejected by the rules of the battlefield of God Aura and be teleported out of it. Even if he is able to forcibly obtain a move from the battlefield of God Aura like Yi Zhaoxian and the others, he is only one person, and he only has one chance. He still can't utilize his full strength. The Alliance leader is still alive. As long as he's alive and can stop Tsang, he still has a chance to achieve the Heaven Highness realm. Ancestor Mingchu and the rest of the cultivators were startled. Jiang Bailan and Xue Mengyao collected their thoughts. Jiang Bailan said calmly, "The princess is right, we still have a chance. Everyone, hurry to the Alliance leader's side and do everything we can to protect him." Xue Mengyao said impatiently, "What are you waiting for? Are you going to give up now? We have nowhere else to go. If we don't give it our all now, when will we have the chance to do so? Even if I have to die a horrible death, I will protect the Alliance leader. I will protect him from the danger." Ancestor Mingchu and the rest of the cultivators collected their thoughts. Their murderous auras rose in their hearts. Some of them even had a crazy look in their eyes. We have to protect the Alliance leader with everything we have. The rulers of Qin-Nan's alliance immediately moved from all directions toward Qin-Nan at a shocking pace. Meanwhile, on the northern battlefield, under the gaze of the Heaven Venerables, rulers of Tao and strange creatures, a golden ray suddenly appeared amidst the lightning. It grew brighter and brighter until it eventually turned into a sword of heaven and earth, piercing through the lightning bolts. The lightning and the pitch-black sky were shattered into pieces. Tsang's figure appeared before the crowd once again. The 33 orbs of the heavens and earth on his back seemed to have undergone a great transformation. They were emitting an indescribable glow and were growing brighter like 33 stars. The aura emanating from Tsang's entire body suddenly soared. Heaven Highness realm in the early stage. Greater success stage of the Heaven Highness realm. Peak Heaven Highness realm. He did not stop even after reaching this level. He had surpassed the peak Heaven Highness realm and reached an unbelievable level. Please remember the domain name of this book, .com. The mobile version of the book, .com. Chapter 26:18. Almost at the same time, an invisible force was unleashed from every inch of the earth around Tianqian and Di Kuan. It shot toward Song with lightning speed. Song quickly raised his finger and wrote in the air when he sensed something. Golden words appeared on the periphery, middle, and depths of the Nanshan battlefield and the northern battlefield. Song's voice echoed. According to my decree, the scoundrel Qin Nan is severely injured and on the verge of death. He will not be able to withstand a single blow. If anyone can eliminate this scoundrel on my behalf, they will become the direct disciple of cultivator Yi Zhaoxian and receive our true teachings. They will surely become a heavenly venerate in the future. They will have a chance to become a supreme heavenly venerate. If you attack the thief, then even if you don't kill the thief, you can rely on this battle merit to enter the alliance between me and fellow Taoist Yi Zhaoxian in the future. You'll be able to obtain a portion of the fortune and share the glory. Heaven and earth are our witnesses. We will not change this decree. As soon as Tsang finished speaking, he was expelled from Tianqian by the invisible force. In the next moment, the sovereigns on both the Nanshan and northern battlefields were in an uproar. Tsang's offer was too tempting. The rulers of the Nanshan battlefield, in particular, had witnessed 5 heavenly venerates ambushing Qin Nan. There was no doubt that Qin Nan was severely injured. Even though a severely injured Qin Nan would not be easy to deal with, if one of them was not enough, what about 2, 10, or even a few dozen of them? Could Qin Nan stop them? Let's go. Let's hunt down Qin Nan. Fellow cultivators, let's work together. Qin Nan still has the successions of 2 supreme heavenly venerates. The rulers of the Nanshan battlefield were like demonic wolves that had smelled blood. They quickly moved. In addition to them, some of the rulers of the northern battlefield also turned around and made their way to the Nanshan battlefield. Even though they were a little far away, it would not be easy to kill Qin Nan. They might arrive just as Qin Nan was about to die. What a vicious move! All the celestial venerables in the void felt chills down their spines. Even at this stage, Song was still going to make such a move. He was trying to prevent any accidents from happening. At this moment, Song had already arrived beside Yi Zhaoxian's group of 5. Congratulations, my lord. Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others immediately bowed respectfully. Yi Zhaoxian looked down at all of Celestial Empire and the rulers who were moving. She didn't look at Song, nor did she congratulate him. For the 2 of them, becoming a celestial venerable was like drinking water. It could not be more normal, and there was nothing worth celebrating about. What should we do next? Should we wait until everything is over before taking action, or should we take action first? Yi Zhaoxian asked calmly. Now that these ants are keeping Qin Nan busy, I'll be lucky if I can survive, let alone achieve the Heaven Highness realm. Song Wei smiled and said, that's why we should act first. Since no one is controlling it, it won't take us too long to capture it. It won't be too late to come back later. Yi Zhaoxian was non-committal. Let's go then. After he finished speaking, he took out a bronze door. The 2 of them entered and disappeared on the spot. Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others did not know what the 2 giants were going to do, but they quickly followed. Yi Zhaoxian and Song left? All the heavenly venerates in the endless void were stunned. Shouldn't Song replace Yi Zhaoxian and the others to continue monitoring Qin Nan? Could it be that Song felt that Qin Nan had no chance of turning the tables, so there was no need to continue monitoring him? No, Song's personality isn't like that. Celestial Tree shook his head, then suddenly remembered something. His pupils shrank. Cassiopeia also thought of something and could no longer maintain his composure. His expression changed. The reason Qin Nan's alliance was still standing was because of the undying cycle mountain. Not only was he quite strong, but most importantly, the undying cycle mountain was no ordinary mountain. It constantly traveled across the 9 heavens immortal realm and concealed itself from the heavens. Even the Heaven Highness realm authorities had no idea where it was. However, Song was different. The cultivation method that he created, Heavenly Emperor Arts, cultivated the power of Source. With the origin force and Song's capabilities, he was able to locate the undying cycle mountain. Now that Song and Yi Zhaoxian and the others had left, there was only one possibility left. They had gone to look for the undying cycle mountain. Master, Cassiopeia could not help but feel nervous. If Song managed to secure the undying cycle mountain, everything would be over for them. Meanwhile, Tianqian, Nanshan battlefield, Qin Nan stood on the lake. He sensed the auras approaching him rapidly from all directions. His expression remained calm, as if he had no idea what was going to happen to him. Qin Nan is over there. Comrades, let's do it. The rulers of Dao arrived. They were both nervous and excited when they saw Qin Nan. Do you seriously think you can kill my husband? A woman suddenly yelled. Princess Miao Miao was holding an immortal sword. Her eyes flickered with anger as she charged forward from the distance like a sword immortal. Protect the alliance leader. Jiang Bailan and Xue Mengyao showed up with the rulers of Dao. They gathered around Qin Nan and formed a formation. Their auras shook the heavens and earth. You! Qin Nan was startled. He was both amused and annoyed. Didn't he already tell them not to change their plan no matter what happened? It seemed like the alliance leader knew what to do. There will be a new chapter before Christmas that will reveal the great secret of the divine god of battle. Please remember the domain name of this book, .com. The mobile version of the book, .com. Chapter 26:19. Meanwhile, the northernmost land of the first immortal realm, following a few flickers, Song, Yi Zhaoxian, and the others appeared. The smell of the 9 heavens immortal realm is still the best. Song took a deep breath with a hint of intoxication. Hurry up, Yi Zhaoxian frowned. Song smiled. He did not say anything further. He performed a hand seal. Several Heaven Emperor pearls flew out of his body and floated in the air, lighting up the entire northernmost land. After Song had become an Empyrean, the Heavenly Emperor's pearls had changed quite a bit. Empyrean Yang Ling and the others felt as if each of the Heavenly Emperor's pearls was a true star. They shone with boundless light and contained boundless energy. They suddenly felt minuscule. Heaven Emperor Art. Song executed the art. The force of the heavens and earth within a million li began to ripple vigorously. Song's aura began to change too, as if he had merged with the first immortal realm. He had become the sky and the ground of the first immortal realm. It felt incredibly spacious. It was boundless. Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others were astounded. Was he still human? Was he still a Heaven Highness? They were all peak Heaven Highness realm, yet the difference between them and Song was like the difference between a sapling and a tree. Yi Zhaoxian squinted. Song had grown stronger. I, the Heaven Emperor, command the first immortal realm. The primary force is at my disposal. The heavens and earth are my chessboard, the sun and the moon are my chess pieces, and I shall observe the 33 heavens. Song rose into the sky and pointed his finger. The force of the heavens and earth within a million li began to surge like soldiers who had received an order. It was as if the heavens and earth were agreeing with each other. As Song pointed his finger forward, ancient suns and stars appeared on the chessboard. The former emitted a fiery red glow, while the latter emitted an icy white glow. They intertwined and changed continuously. The entire scene was incomparably shocking, leaving everyone dumbstruck. In less than 100 breaths of time, Song sensed something and exclaimed in surprise. On the chessboard of heaven and earth, with the indescribable sun and moon as chess pieces, a monstrous wave of light suddenly surged into the sky. It produced a rumbling sound that echoed in all directions. Not only that, but there was also an image within the wave of light. It was a boundless golden desert. There were no signs of human habitation or demonic beasts. It gave off an incomparably deathly stillness. In midair, a looming mountain was suspended in the air. Even though they couldn't see it clearly through the screen, they could still feel the majesty, mystery, and power of the mountain. This is the Undying Cycle Mountain? You made a move on it so quickly? The expressions of Empyrean Yang Ling and the others changed as they began to feel excited in their hearts. You found it so quickly? Yi Zhaoxian frowned and said, judging from the image, it seems like it's currently in the southernmost part of the first immortal realm. Song also felt that something was amiss. With his current cultivation base, it would take him at least 4 to 6 hours to find the true body of the Undying Cycle Mountain. Besides, it was reasonable for the Undying Cycle Mountain to head to a more remote immortal realm to buy him some time. Meanwhile, the Undying Cycle Mountain seemed to be aware of something. Zhou Xuandao's icy voice suddenly appeared in the image. I already knew this day would come. If you have the guts to claim the Undying Cycle Mountain, feel free to do so. It was as if Zhou Xuandao had already decided that it did not matter who the master of the Undying Cycle Mountain was. This old man, Zhou Xuandao, is quite interesting. Song's lips curled upward. His aura shook the area within a million li. It doesn't matter what he's planning, it's meaningless now. Yi Zhaoxian agreed. She nodded and stepped into the rift. The others followed behind her. Less than half the period it took an incense stick to burn, a great blast took place in the southernmost part of the first immortal realm. Meanwhile, in the rift above the battlefield of the immortal aura, Song and Yi Zhaoxian have found the Undying Cycle Mountain. It's currently in the southernmost part of the first immortal realm. They are planning to refine the Undying Cycle Mountain with brute force. The Heaven Highnesses were startled when they received the news from the first immortal realm. Most of the Heaven Highnesses finally realized that Yi Zhaoxian and Song were planning to refine the Undying Cycle Mountain. The Undying Cycle Mountain has lost its power. Even though it's known as one of the 2 greatest artifacts in the 9 Heavens immortal realm, there's no way it can stop Song and Yi Zhaoxian. Without the Undying Cycle Mountain, the Qin Nan Alliance will have lost their final foundation. Once the battle of the Heaven Highnesses comes to an end, the Qin Nan Alliance will be wiped out instantly. The outcome has been decided. All the heavenly venerables sighed in their hearts. Senior, we will have to make a choice after today, Heaven Highness Huangyun said softly. Before the battle of the Heaven Highnesses began, the alliance of the Li clan and the Wang clan was able to resist the pressure from Yi Tsong's alliance and remain neutral. They were even secretly helping the Qin Nan alliance, but from today onward, they were no longer able to resist the pressure from Yi Tsong's alliance. But, for the sake of their clans, for the sake of their next generation, they had no choice but to submit to Yi Tsong's alliance. She knew the old man beside her was not willing to do so, but she had no choice. I know. The celestial tree waved his hand. His white hair was exceptionally dazzling, as if he weren't a legend whose might had shaken the ages, but an ordinary old man. On the other side, Cassiopeia, who was beside celestial Ling Huang, suddenly sensed something. Even with its willpower, it could no longer maintain its composure. Its expression changed greatly. My lord! It shouted inwardly. Its gaze traversed the void and landed on Qin Nan on the battlefield of Nanshan. At this moment, Princess Miao Miao and the others from Qin Nan's alliance had already surrounded Qin Nan. More and more sovereigns were rushing over from all directions and attacking them. Not only that, But even worse was that although the strange creatures didn't know what was going on, they could keenly sense the attitude of the rulers. They saw Qin Nan as some sort of peerless opportunity and attacked as well. Qin Nan and the others were completely surrounded. They were like a lone island in the middle of a vast ocean, about to be submerged and turned into nothingness. Cassiopeia's heart skipped a beat. It believed in Qin Nan. It believed in Qin Nan unconditionally. However, how was its lord going to turn the tables under the circumstances? At this moment it suddenly saw a change. Qin Nan, who had remained motionless until now, suddenly emitted a brilliant demonic glow from his back. "Princess Bailan, Mengyao, and the rest of you, stop what you're doing," Qin Nan said calmly. "Qin Nan, you." Princess Miao Miao and the others were startled. What was Qin Nan trying to do? "Leave the rest to me." Saying this, Qin Nan took a step forward and crossed a few 10,000 li. He arrived in front of the rulers of Dao and the strange creatures. As a matter of fact, he could have become a heaven highness long ago. Like Yi Zhaoxian and Song, he was once a supreme Empyrean. Wouldn't it be easy for him to become an Empyrean again? Not to mention, he'd merged with Huang Fuju's avatar. His power had long since broken through the limits of the ruler realm. He was just suppressing it. But why hadn't he chosen to become an Empyrean earlier? Because he wasn't alone. He had the entire alliance behind him. That was why he'd chosen to suppress himself and personally lead the charge to break through Yitsong's alliance's net. Apart from that, he hadn't lied to Celestial Master Ling Huang about his plan to slay Tsong. He'd originally planned to pretend to be injured to lower Tsong's guard, then crippled Tsong in one fell swoop. Then, he'd interrogate Tsong about many things he wanted answers to, then kill Tsong. After all, it would be easier to kill Tsong, who was at the sovereign realm, than it would be harder to kill Tsong, who was at the celestial realm. However, he never would have expected Tsong to possess such a method. Tsong had created an existence that surpassed the incarnation level to create a diversion and confuse him. I'll have to find an opportunity to master this sort of incarnation technique. It seems to be quite useful, Qin Nan thought to himself. Then, he saw the various rulers and creatures in front of him become excited at the sight of him. They began to unleash one divine ability after another. Careful! Princess Miao Miao and the others' expressions changed. They prepared to intervene. Boom! Qin Nan slashed out with his saber. It shook heaven and earth, shattering all spells. Since the plan has failed, I can only fight head-on. Qin Nan's gaze sharpened. His aura, which had been declining due to his injury, suddenly soared, as if it had received a great boost. That wasn't all. The great harmony heavenly execution was activated. His aura was far stronger than before, reaching an inconceivable level. The various Empyreans outside the boundless void all sensed something and looked over. Qin Nan took a step forward. The ground shook vigorously as a strong gust of wind surged. The rulers and strange creatures in the surroundings were startled. They immediately backed away. The second step shattered the rift within a few 100,000 li. The third step, a tremendous glow burst out from Qin Nan's body and soared into the sky. The fourth step, the sky above the Nanshan battlefield suddenly turned pitch black. The fifth step, countless lightning bolts appeared in the sky. They were golden in color, filling the place with a destructive aura. The sixth step, Dao rhymes echoed as the gods and demons sang together. The seventh step, Qin Nan rose into the sky. Lightning descended upon the world and completely devoured him. This day would be recorded in the annals of history as a dazzling stroke. 7 steps, the world watched as he became a heaven highness. Please remember the domain name of this book, .com. The mobile version of the book, .com. Chapter 2620. How is this possible? In the endless void, the celestial sovereigns were filled with shock and disbelief. It had happened too suddenly. There was no sign at all. Just a moment ago, Qin Nan was seriously injured. He was being surrounded by the rulers of Tao and the strange creatures. He was in great danger. Yet, Qin Nan had triggered the tribulation and achieved the Heaven Highness realm? It had to be known that if a peak sovereign wanted to break through to the celestial realm, not only would they need a grand occasion, they would also need to come across some sort of opportunity. Through this opportunity, they would be able to trigger the energy within their body and break through to the sovereign realm. Even Tsang had only achieved the Heaven Highness realm by sneaking into a godly mountain in the northern battleground and securing the fortunate encounter inside. However, Qin Nan did not do that. It was as if Qin Nan could achieve the Heaven Highness realm with a single thought. He achieved the Heaven Highness realm? Heaven Highness Ling Huang and Jia Yi were astounded. In addition to them, Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, Xue Mengyao, the people of Qin Nan's alliance, the rulers of Tao and the strange creatures on the Nanshan battleground were dumbfounded too. Bang bang bang! The lightning continued to surge and completely devoured Qin Nan's figure. The entire Nanshan battlefield began to tremble because of this. A few moments later, a brilliant saber glow burst out from the lightning. It sliced the lightning in half and soared into the sky. Qin Nan's figure appeared in front of the crowd once again. Sacred and demonic glows intertwined behind him, making him look like a peerless deity. Everything in his body had undergone an astonishing transformation, and the aura he was emitting had also skyrocketed. The early stage of the Heaven Highness realm. The greater success stage of the Heaven Highness realm. The peak Heaven Highness realm. Similar to Tsang, he did not stop after reaching the peak. He continued to climb. The Self realm. The Ground Knowledge realm. Only when he broke through to the Ingtian realm did it slowly stop. One had to know that when Qin Nan's soul returned to ancient times, he entered the space-time light with the spirit of the celestial pole list and the others. By chance, he became a celestial lord of the Tao realm. After that, he took all kinds of immortal pills and became a Tao-responsive realm celestial lord. Venerable. Therefore, now that he was once again promoted to Empyrean, breaking through to the heaven realm in one go, it was completely a matter of course. Moreover, this was only because Qin Nan had just broken through. It wouldn't be long before Qin Nan could once again become an Empyrean of the Tao realm. It really is. Sky Sovereign. On the Nanshan battlefield, the rulers and strange creatures could all clearly sense the vague pressure emanating from the man in the sky. It enveloped the entire world and caused their souls to tremble. Their faces immediately turned pale. Just now they wanted to kill Qin Nan. It's a breakthrough. Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, Xue Mengyao, Mingqiu Progenitor, and the people of Qin Nan's alliance collected their thoughts. Their faces were brimming with excitement. They had no idea how Qin Nan did it, but they knew one thing: their alliance was still in danger. The celestial tree collected its thoughts too. It burst out laughing, ha ha ha. Qin Nan, you've given me a great surprise. The tables had turned for Qin Nan's alliance. It also implied that the situation of the Nine Heavens' immortal realm had changed too. Who still dared to say the Nine Heavens' immortal realm would only belong to Tsang or Yi Zhaoxian in the future? Fate had been rewritten. The future was filled with countless possibilities too. No one could predict what would happen. Well done, the kid was most likely faking the serious injuries at the beginning. It's very likely that the kid was confident he could achieve the Heaven Highness realm, but he just wanted to take out Tsang first. The celestial tree's eyes flickered with astonishment. After pondering for a while, he realized that Qin Nan's strength had reached a terrifying level in just 2 years, which had exceeded everyone's expectations. Heaven Highness Huang Yun, Heaven Highness Duanmu, and Heaven Highness Li Pasheng were overjoyed too. They had made the right choice by allying with the Li clan and the Wang clan. Well done, well done. Heaven Highness Eternal Night, Heaven Highness of Plentiful Treasure, Heaven Highness Lu Fang, and the rest of the authorities were overjoyed too. They had chosen to remain neutral, so they did not want Qin Nan to fail. Qin Nan had to grow stronger to take on Yi Zhaoxian and Song to restore the balance of the Nine Heavens, Immortal Realm. Even though it was impossible to maintain the balance of the Nine Heavens Immortal Realms, it would at least prolong the balance. Meanwhile, the core rules of the battlefield of God's aura were activated. Wisps of energy surged at Qin Nan rapidly. Qin Nan sensed something. He said calmly, "Pass down my order. Every cultivator that was chasing after me must help the people of Qin Nan's alliance achieve the Heaven Highness realm with all their might. If you can do that, I'll let bygones be bygones. If you fail, I'll eliminate you no matter where you run to." Qin Nan glanced at Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and the others. He straightened his face and said, "People of Qin Nan's alliance, listen up, focus on achieving the Heaven Highness realm with all your might. Don't worry about anything else. I'll punish anyone who disobeys the rules." Following it, Qin Nan was teleported out of the battlefield of God's aura by the power of the rules. Qin Nan did not hesitate. He arrived beside Heaven Highness Ling Huang like a deity and said, "Senior Ling Huang, keep an eye on the battlefield of God's aura, just in case something goes wrong. Cassiopeia, come with me." Qin Nan picked up the ownerless heaven pattern and turned into a brilliant ray flying into the Nine Heavens Immortal Realm. Calm. Wonderful house. Calm. Chapter 26-21. Meanwhile, the Nanshan battlefield, everyone felt relieved after Qin Nan left. It felt like the whole place was a lot brighter than before. "Humph, why are you being so fierce? We only came here to help him because we were worried about him," Princess Miao Miao said. Despite her words, her face was filled with joy and pride. Her eyes were curled into crescents. "You're right, Princess," Jiang Bailan said with a smile. "He has just achieved the Heaven Highness realm, and he's also the alliance leader. We can't trouble him on the surface, but we'll teach him a lesson when we return." "That's right, he's going to overturn the roof if he doesn't teach him a lesson in 3 days, Xue Mengyao agreed. It's settled then. We'll teach him a lesson together." Princess Miao Miao nodded. She looked at the rulers of Dao in the distance and said coldly, "What are you waiting for? Didn't you hear what my husband said? Hurry up. Open a path for us." The rulers of Dao were helpless and bitter, but did they dare to reject the order? Did they dare to run away? They were not idiot. Many things were going to change now that Qin Nan had achieved the Heaven Highness realm. Meanwhile, the strange creatures did not have to go through as much trouble as the rulers of Dao due to the language barrier. They simply left in dismay. Outside the battlefield of God's presence, in the rift, the Heaven Highnesses immediately noticed Qin Nan's movement. "Is Qin Nan?" The celestial venerables quickly thought of something, and their hearts trembled. It was obvious that Qin Nan was going to fight Song and Yi Zhaoxian. Song and Yi Zhaoxian were currently targeting the Undying Cycle Mountain in the First Immortal Realm. Qin Nan had successfully achieved the Heaven Highness realm. How could he possibly stand by and watch? "Let's go! Follow him!" Without any hesitation, the celestial venerates left their wills on the ground and began to move. They had come to the battlefield of God's presence mainly to protect the experts of their factions. They were worried that their factions would set them up after they achieved the Heaven Highness realm. But now they couldn't care less. It was the greatest battle in the Nine Heavens Immortal Realm. The outcome of the battle would greatly influence the power balance of the Nine Heavens Immortal Realm. Moreover, Qin Nan was the reincarnation of 2 supreme sovereigns. Song and Yi Zhaoxian were both supreme sovereigns in the past. They had surpassed the peak of the Empyrean realm, reaching an unbelievable level. The battle between them would definitely be extraordinary. Witnessing it with one's own eyes would definitely allow one to gain something. It might even bring about a certain breakthrough. More importantly, on the surface, they were not on the same level as Qin Nan, Song, and Yi Zhaoxian. They did not have the opportunity to participate in the battle, but in reality, that was not the case. What if Qin Nan and the other two fought until both sides were injured? Or what if one side was severely injured and the other died? Perhaps they would have a chance to participate when the time came. Senior Tong Tian, you shouldn't act recklessly before the situation is clear. You shouldn't help Qin Nan so easily, Heaven Highness Huang Yun reminded as a thought crossed his mind. Don't you worry, I've lived since the ancient era. Do you think I'm an impulsive person? The celestial tree reassured Heaven Highness Huang Yun. It quickly left the rest of the Heaven Highnesses in the dust. Meanwhile, deep inside the Earth realm, Huang Fuju's expression instantly turned from gloomy to sunny as he heard the news, and he laughed heartily. It was not a good thing if Qin Nan failed to achieve the Heaven Highness realm. It would put him in great danger. However, Qin Nan had brought him a great surprise. Beat them up, beat them up. I'll give them a great surprise when the time comes. Huang Fuju murmured. He looked at Moxie and said, It's time, let's head to Tianqian. Meanwhile, the southernmost land of the first immortal realm, bang bang bang. The world within a radius of over 1,000,000 miles fell into a thunderous explosion. Streams of wind swept out in all directions like a storm, shattering pieces of space into pieces. The living beings and cultivators within 1,000,000 li had long fled for their lives. Those who failed to escape in time were crushed into pieces by the strong gusts and auras. Song and Yi Zhaoxian were like two peerless deities. They executed shocking moves to land their attacks on the blurry Undying Cycle Mountain. Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others did not stay idle either. They kept attacking from behind too. The Undying Cycle Mountain emitted a sacred glow and summoned the force of the heavens and earth to construct various ancient formations to resist the attacks. However, anyone could tell that the Undying Cycle Mountain was sinking, and its radiance was growing dimmer and dimmer. Even though the Undying Cycle Mountain was on par with the Celestial Pole ranking, Zhou Xuandao was not the spirit of the Celestial Pole list. Even though he was the mountain spirit, he was unable to utilize the Undying Cycle Mountain's power. Inside the Undying Cycle Mountain, the disciples of Qin Nan's alliance wore pale faces when they saw the mountains shaking vigorously. Their eyes were filled with terror. Zhou Xuandao, who was standing on the 9th mountain, emitting a godly glow, was fully focused on attacking. His face gradually lost its color. He seemed to have aged even further. Qin Nan, you little prick, if you don't achieve the Heaven Highness realm soon, don't blame me for changing the Undying Cycle Mountain's master. Zhou Xuandao said while clenching his teeth. Before Qin Nan set off, he had promised Zhou Xuandao that he would surely achieve the Heaven Highness realm. It was Qin Nan who asked Zhou Xuandao to move the Undying Cycle Mountain to the southernmost part of the first immortal realm. Qin Nan had thought that if he failed to kill Song and he managed to achieve the Heaven Highness realm, Song would surely attack the Undying Cycle Mountain. If the Undying Cycle Mountain was located in other small immortal realms whose primary force and rules of cultivation were not strong enough, it would have a greater impact on the Undying Cycle Mountain. Besides, the first immortal realm was closer to the Blue Dome. If anything happened, Qin Nan would be able to make his way there in time. Outside the Undying Cycle Mountain, Song, Yi Zhaoxian, and the others continued to attack. It's almost done. Song's eyes flickered. They were finally going to claim the Undying Cycle Mountain. Calm. Wonderful book house. Chapter 26-22. Suddenly, Song and Yi Zhaoxian felt a strong sense of danger at the same time. Without any hesitation, the two of them stopped attacking the Undying Cycle Mountain. Instead, they turned around at the same time and unleashed a powerful divine ability. He saw an incomparably dazzling saber light slashing toward him from afar. It was like the wrath of the heavens, a divine punishment. The saber glow and the martial art collided with one another, resulting in a deafening blast. Their will collapsed simultaneously, turning into various glows and gusts of wind that swept across the rift. "Who's there?" Yi Zhaoxian's expression turned cold. "Who dared to oppose them in the Nine Heavens' immortal realm?" Song squinted. Was it Ji Xian? The silhouette of a person soon appeared in the light and aura. The person ignored the shockwaves of the divine abilities and walked out of the light. His appearance soon appeared in front of Song, Yi Zhaoxian, and the others. Qin, Nan, Celestial Venerable Yang Ling, and the others were greatly shaken. Their faces revealed shock, not daring to believe their eyes. In addition to them, even Song and Yi Zhaoxian's faces were filled with astonishment. The reason being that Qin Nan's aura was in the Heaven Highness realm. Wasn't Qin Nan suffering from serious injuries? How did he achieve the Heaven Highness realm when the other cultivators were attacking him? Impressive! On the mountain, Zhou Xuandao could not help but exclaim in admiration. Qin Nan did not let him down. "You're in the Heaven realm?" Suddenly, Song and Yi Zhaoxian sensed something, and the pupils in their eyes subconsciously constricted. Song had just achieved the Heaven Highness realm. He had only reached the knowledge realm. Yi Zhaoxian had achieved the peak Heaven Highness realm in 2 years, but she was only in the Heaven realm now. However, Qin Nan had achieved the peak Heaven Highness realm and the Heaven realm in just a few hours. The others in the Nine Heavens immortal realm might not understand what it meant, but Song and Yi Zhaoxian clearly knew that Qin Nan had accumulated a terrifying strength when he achieved the peak ruler realm. His strength had completely surpassed theirs. On top of that, it was a lot stronger than theirs. It was almost double their strength. Zhou Di and Huang Fuju are impressive. Song and Yi Zhaoxian shared the same thought. They had sealed off the vast dragon-proof seal in Qin Nan's body. Qin Nan had never entered the Blue Dome in the past 2 years. There was only one possibility. Zhou Di and Huang Fuju had left a backup plan for Qin Nan in just 2 years. Had undergone a tremendous transformation. Song and Yi Zhaoxian also realized that Qin Nan was only pretending that Qin Nan was seriously injured to confuse them. Qin Nan was confident that he could achieve the Heaven Highness realm since the beginning. The trap that they had set up, and the 5 Highnesses had not affected Qin Nan at all. "Oh Qin Nan, I didn't expect you to give me such a great surprise. It seems like you only came because of the others in your alliance. You were also trying to stop me from achieving the Heaven Highness realm and kill me before I achieved the ruler realm." Song collected his thoughts. He did not show any sign of fear, but he was excited instead. This kind of excitement was like the feeling of meeting a worthy opponent, It seems like I made the right choice by teaming up with Song. If the two of us hadn't teamed up, you might have defeated us one by one, Yi Zhaoxian said, taking a deep look at Qin Nan. Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others were even more shocked. They were no fools. They could tell from Song and Yi Zhaoxian's attitude that Qin Nan had not only become a heavenly highness, but he had also become extremely terrifying. Moreover, Yi Zhaoxian's eyes flashed. "Qin Nan, if my guess is correct, you must have used some kind of spacetime technique to break through my spacetime steels, right? Where did you get this technique from?" Qin Nan smiled faintly. "You're quite meticulous. I did use some kind of spacetime technique. Unfortunately, I can only tell you after you're dead." As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying aura erupted from Qin Nan's body, forcefully affecting everything within 1,000,000 miles. There was no need to talk nonsense. Sacred Demon Fist. Qin Nan stepped forward. The power of the half-step indestructible flesh of eternity and the demonic intent of the art of the immortal demon completely merged into one. Qin Nan's fist exploded with a loud bang. Qin Nan had only thrown a single punch. Song Yizhaoxian, Yang Ling Tianzuan, and the others were all standing in different places. However, Song Yizhaoxian and the others felt as if their vision had turned pitch black. A fist as large as the sky was descending upon them. They fell separately, intending to crush them into pieces. "Ha, Qin Nan, let's see how strong you are now." Song burst out laughing. The 33 heavenly emperor pearls behind him instantly appeared and emitted a divine glow to protect him. Yi Zhaoxian's eyes flickered coldly. She drew out an ancient immortal sword and executed a peerless sword art. Dense sword intents immediately appeared in the rift, forming a tremendous sword net that seemed to be able to intercept everything. Bang, bang, bang! The place trembled vigorously. Large areas of the rift were shattered into pieces and turned into chaos. Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others wore pale faces. When Qin Nan threw a punch at them, they felt as if the world had completely shattered and they had no chance of surviving. They could clearly feel the aura of death looming over them. "Qin Nan is very strong. You four, form a formation and stay away from us. Find a chance to attack Qin Nan." Yi Zhaoxian shouted in a low voice. Her figure moved, and she slashed with her immortal sword. She directly switched from defense to offense, transforming into a monstrous sword light that slashed straight at Qin above Nan's head. Song reacted the same way. The 33 heavenly emperor pearls formed a formation behind him, granting him a tremendous power. It felt like he was an ancient giant that was charging at Qin Nan with the power of the heavens. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 26-23. It's finally time. A shocking battle intent burst out from Qin Nan's body. Why did he take such a huge risk to return to the ancient era? It was all for the sake of completely defeating these two giants. Now, his chance had come. It was time to prove everything he had learned in the ancient era, everything he had learned in his life. Ownerless heaven pattern, kill. Qin Nan inserted a formidable force into the ownerless heaven pattern. The artifact that had been sealed for tens of thousands of years unleashed its power once again. Thousands of killing formations deep inside the pattern were activated and connected into one. They rose up and turned into two terrifying rays of light that blasted towards Song and Yi Zhaoxian. Pattern of Heaven Emperor. Sword of World Suppression. Song and Yi Zhaoxian withdrew their moves without hesitation. The formation consisting of 33 orbs of Heaven Emperor on the former's back soared into the sky with a peerless aura. Meanwhile, the immortal sword in the latter's hand was unleashed as if it was no longer sealed. It unleashed an ancient, desolate aura. Bang, bang, bang! The place within a few 100,000 li shattered into pieces. Various terrifying intents surged in all directions. Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others were astounded by the sight. The strength that Qin Nan had displayed was simply too overwhelming. It was impossible to tell how much stronger he was compared to them. No matter how strong Qin Nan is, he's only one person. How could he possibly take on Song and Yi Zhaoxian? The same thought crossed the minds of Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others. They immediately made up their minds and exchanged glances with one another. They formed a hand seal. The four of them immediately established a huge formation. Their auras stacked on top of one another. Cycle of life and death, tomb of yin and yang. Heaven Highness Impermanence was in charge of the formation. He immediately gathered the power of the formation and executed his strongest move. The chi of life and death soared into the sky as the two tombs turned into yin and yang. With the diagram of the celestial ruler in his hand, Yi Zhaoxian swung the sword of world suppression and attacked Qin Nan from both sides. Elder Zhou. Qin Nan shouted in a low voice. Go ahead. Zhou Xuandao immediately responded. Qin Nan immediately activated the diagram of Heavenly Monarch and Cassiopeia activated various formations. In an instant it was as if a divine gate opened in the diagram. Majestic phantoms rushed out one after another, turning into divine soldiers and generals that attacked in all directions. Song Yizhaoxian, Yang Ling Tianzuan, and the others were all shocked. Qin Nan immediately formed hand seals. In the blink of an eye, he had formed over 10,000 seals. Undying Cycle Mountain. 1. A pure white glow illuminated the vast sky. The force of the heavens and earth within a million li began to boil like boiling water. The sound of the great Tao echoed continuously. The undying Cycle Mountain, that Song Yizhaoxian, and the others had sunk instantly rose and reached the end of the sky. This supreme treasure, which was on par with the heaven rank roll, seemed to have awakened from its slumber. The vague shape of the mountain slowly became more and more real. The aura of the mountain suddenly surged. Its size was incomparable to the boundless earth, and even more so, it was incomparable to the sky. However, before it caused the world to lose its splendor. Suppress it. Qin Nan waved his hand like the commander of an army. This was Qin Nan's first time activating the undying Cycle Mountain. To be more precise, this was Qin Nan's first time activating the undying Cycle Mountain to kill an enemy. This was because Qin Nan, even after returning from the primordial age, had not been able to activate the undying Cycle Mountain before becoming a heavenly venerate. Boom! The undying Cycle Mountain immediately unleashed a terrifying power. Song and Yi Zhaoxian were startled. They were well aware of the undying Cycle Mountain's strength. During the great battle in the primordial age, Zhou Di had used everything he had to execute a powerful attack with the undying Cycle Mountain. Song had no choice but to fall into a deep slumber for many years. His cultivation had dropped significantly, and he was on the verge of death. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the Blue Dome, the Celestial Tree and the others who had just flown out of the Blue Dome immediately saw the first immortal realm floating deep in the rift turning into a white glow in the southernmost direction. They could even vaguely sense the terrifying power. Qin Nan is really putting his life on the line. He has already activated the ownerless heaven pattern and the undying Cycle Mountain. At the beginning of the battle, the Celestial Tree took a deep breath. He did not probe the enemy's strength, nor did he feign his strength. It clearly showed how determined Qin Nan was. Let's head over at once. The battle is too terrifying, we can't stay too close to it. The other heaven highnesses were dumbfounded too. Meanwhile, the westernmost land of the first immortal realm, a small boat was floating on a faint blue lake. A figure was sitting at the front of the boat and fishing with his head lowered. However, if a cultivator were to take a closer look, they would see that the figure was staring at the water where Qin Nan was fighting against Song, Yi Zhaoxian, and the others. Beat them up, beat them to death! The figure yelled while watching the battle. His face was filled with excitement, as if he could not wait to join the battle himself. Sigh, damn it, I have no choice but to endure it for the sake of the bigger picture. The figure cursed before grinning. Qin, sigh, forget it, I'm not used to saying your name. Don't blame me for being disloyal when you learn about it. Big Brother Wu has been sealed by them. This proves that my previous deduction is most likely correct. Therefore, I have to endure it. Otherwise, we will be in a passive position when the time comes, but don't let me down. You used to be the strongest cultivator in the 9 heavens in my heart. Brother Tian also said you were the strongest cultivator in the 9 heavens. So this time, we have to beat them fiercely. We have to beat Song and Yi Zhaoxian until they show their true colors. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 26-24. Meanwhile, the southernmost part of the first immortal realm, when the undying cycle mountain unleashed its power and loomed over the place, Yi Zhaoxian immediately executed the art of time and space. 10 illusionary sundials of different sizes appeared behind her, each emitting a mysterious glow. Monument of time and space. Yi Zhaoxian performed a hand seal. The rift within a few thousand li above her began to ripple vigorously as a giant monument appeared from it. It emitted a misty glow and sprang at the undying cycle mountain. Even though Yi Zhaoxian was still unable to summon the real monument of time and space, she could only summon its projection. It was different than the 2 times at the battlefield of God's aura. Qin Nan clearly sensed the secrets of the monument, as well as the enormous power it contained. The rules of time and space. Even though it was incomparable to the undying cycle mountain, it was still able to stand proudly under the undying cycle mountain's formidable aura without being affected by it. Rumble. The heavens and earth shook vigorously. The monument of time and space shook vigorously, as if it was about to break into pieces. In the blink of an eye, Yi Zhaoxian's hand seals changed. She actually guided out an extremely large amount of space-time energy from the tablet. Trying to use the force of time and space against me? Didn't she already know that I've practiced the art of time and space, thus the move is useless against me? Qin Nan immediately realized that something was not right. As expected, Yi Zhaoxian made a shocking move. He actually used all of the space-time power on himself, forming an incomparably profound space-time formation with a radius of 100 feet under his feet. There were countless talismans in it. Runes were flickering vigorously. 10,000 immortal breaking sword. Yi Zhaoxian swiftly slashed forward. An unbelievable sight took place. The power of the slash was a few times stronger than before. The icy sword glow seemed to have come from the depths of the netherworld. It contained a magnificent sword intent. Bang! The slash nullified the power of the undying cycle mountain with brute force. Heaven-flicking finger. Yi Zhaoxian flicked her finger and a beam of soul-stirring brilliance erupted from it. Following closely behind the beam of sword light, it forcibly shattered the might of the undying cycle mountain into pieces, sending shock waves in all directions. The current Yi Zhaoxian seemed to have removed countless seals and displayed her true strength. Every move she made had the power to destroy everything in its path. Was Yi Zhaoxian really hiding her true strength? No, he was the same as Qin Nan, only a celestial venerable of response heaven realm. In fact, the 10,000 immortal destroying swords and the heaven-flicking finger that he had unleashed earlier were merely average among the many killer moves that Yi Zhaoxian had grasped. They could not even be considered to be Yi Zhaoxian's killer move. However, the moves were Yi Zhaoxian's killer moves. The reason being that Yi Zhaoxian had purposely learned the move. She had even traveled across the small immortal realms of the 33 heavens to find experts in various sacred grounds to learn the move. The moves shared the same characteristic. The longer she accumulated her power, the stronger it would be. It might be a weakness in the eyes of others, as it took a long time to accumulate the power. In a real battle, their opponents would never give them the chance to do so. However, the weakness did not exist in Yi Zhaoxian's case. Those who practiced the space-time arts could reverse or accelerate time. He had activated the space-time boulder and set up a space-time formation to strengthen himself. Others would need to accumulate their power for 100 breaths to unleash the full power of the moves, but he only needed an instant. Impressive! Qin Nan's eyes flickered when he saw through the trick. He activated the ownerless heaven pattern and the undying cycle mountain at the same time to unleash an incredible power. As a heaven emperor, I order the primary upper realm to gather the power of the 9 heavens and transform it into the will of my sword. Song had long been prepared. When Yi Zhaoxian struck out with the heaven-flicking finger, he summoned 33 different types of power to support the longsword in his hand. He merged with his sword and turned into a sharp sword glow slashing at Qin Nan. Kill! Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others had surpassed the strength of ordinary peak heaven highnesses. They took hold of the opportunity to unleash their power and executed their move. Sacred demon coexisting, saber slashing the 9 heavens. The energy in Qin Nan's body was overwhelming. He did not expend too much energy when he was controlling the undying cycle mountain and the ownerless heaven pattern. His strength was still at its peak. He was able to unleash thousands of saber intents within an instant. Bang bang bang! The two sides fought fiercely. Every breath was filled with shocking attacks. Even though Qin Nan was on his own, the strength he displayed was undefeatable in the Heaven Highness realm. He was able to overwhelm the 6 cultivators with brute force and defeat them all. The two sides were on par with one another. This is too terrifying. If Qin Nan was fighting Tsang or Yi Zhaoxian on his own, I'm afraid the latter wouldn't stand a chance against Qin Nan. The Heaven Highnesses in the distance blurted out in astonishment. However, this isn't a duel, it's a battle to the death. There won't be any one-on-one duels. Until now, Tsang has yet to reveal his true strength. A Heaven Highness said. All of a sudden, they seemed to have realized something, and their pupils shrank slightly. Tsang is starting to get serious too. As soon as the Tsang Fa seal was formed, the 33 Celestial Emperor's pearls began to burn like flames. Then, with shocking speed, they rushed to the ground in all directions and merged with it, disappearing without a trace. Wisps of terrifying auras rose from Tsang's body. Please remember the domain name of the book, .com. The mobile version of the book, .com. Chapter 26-25. As the Heaven Emperor, I order the First Realm to gather all the forces in it. Tsang uttered thunderously with an overwhelming aura. Almost everyone could sense that the vast world around them, as well as the seas, mountains, forests, and everything else, were all responding to Tsang's call. Vast amounts of energy of the world and the sea were surging towards them. The forces of the heavens and earth, the forces of the heavens and earth, etc. It was as if Tsang was no longer a human cultivator, but a real Heaven Emperor, the master of the first immortal realm. Moreover, if Tsang was described as an immortal mountain with a majestic aura earlier, then Tsang was now like the sun, moon, and stars. His brilliance was enough to illuminate the heavens. It was Tsang's true appearance. Even though he had just achieved the Heaven Highness realm and was only in the ground perception realm, making him a level lower than Qin Nan and Yi Zhaoxian, his true strength was on par with Yi Zhaoxian. In fact, he was slightly stronger than her. The reason being that Yi Zhaoxian's strength was partially due to the spacetime boulder. However, his strength only came from himself. Human Emperor's sword. Tsang made his move again. He soared into the sky like a godly dragon emerging from the ocean. He slashed forward with the immortal sword. The heavens and earth began to tremble as a faint golden sword glow burst out of it. The sword glow was different from the others. It was not made up of pure sword intent, but the power of faith of countless living beings. Sacred Demon Realm. Qin Nan swung his saber. Wisps of saber intents were unleashed. It was like a mystical world where both the sacred and the demon existed at the same time. It was able to suck everything into it. Tsang did not back away. He kept swinging his sword. He was moving at a shocking speed. It felt like he was firing thousands of sword intents in every breath. The whole place was covered in a golden brilliance. If a Heaven Highness did not have a strong eye technique, they would not be able to see Tsang's figure so quickly. However, the sacred demon realm was like an absolute barrier to Tsang. No matter how many sword intents were slashing at it, the world formed by the saber intents kept shaking, as if it would never be broken. Earth Emperor's sword. Suddenly, Tsang Shan's sword technique changed. It was still a golden sword light, but everyone could feel that no matter if it was the golden radiance or the might that erupted from it, they were all several times stronger than the human king's sword from before. It was as if the boundless earth had borrowed the boundless lives of countless creatures. The same as the power of faith. With a flash of sword light, the holy devil world shook. After 10 sword lights, countless cracks appeared on the holy devil world. A deafening boom rang out from the 100 sword lights. The holy demon realm was completely shattered. In the chaos caused by the collision, Song still rushed straight up and came directly to a place not far from Qin Nan. The immortal sword in his hand slashed forward, and countless earthly emperor sword chi interweaved into a huge net that enveloped Qin Nan. What a terrifying spell technique! The celestial venerables in the distance couldn't help but gasp. The human king sword, the earthly sovereign sword, and the celestial Dharch sword. It might seem like 3 different sword arts, but it was actually the same sword art, a sword art that was stacked on top of one another. The sword art continued to unleash a powerful aura, and the aura would grow stronger as more sword lights were unleashed. The earthly emperor sword was already so powerful. How terrifying would it be if it evolved into the celestial Dharch sword? Since they had noticed it, Qin Nan had noticed it too. As such, Qin Nan immediately moved and fired the heaven-shattering saber at Tsang with a sacred and demonic glow. Tsang unleashed countless earthly emperor sword intents to intercept the heaven-shattering saber. However, Tsang saw Qin Nan appearing above him. He curled his finger and fired wisps of sacred and demonic glow into his saber. Qin Nan kept flicking his finger. The whole place buzzed vigorously as a peerless glow made of sacred and demonic light that seemed to have originated from the ancient era fired at Tsang. It was a killing blow. Even though it was not enough to kill Tsang, it left him with 2 choices. He could either choose to stop the sword intents and focus on defending himself, or he could take the attack head-on and suffer serious injuries. Tsang made his choice without any hesitation. He ignored the attack and knocked the heaven-shattering saber away with his immortal sword. He continued to fire wisps of earthly emperor sword intents at Qin Nan. Is Tsang out of his mind? Many heaven highnesses could not believe their eyes. Bang! The peerless light landed on Tsang's body. Even though the latter's body was incomparably strong and extraordinary, he couldn't withstand it at all. More than half of his chest was directly penetrated, causing blood to spurt out. The scene was extremely tragic. However, in less than a breath's time, the hole on Tsang's chest returned to normal, as if nothing had happened at all. Is that? The eyes of the heaven highnesses widened. Qin Nan, don't you understand? Even if you've broken through to the heaven highness realm, you still won't be able to change the outcome. Tsang grinned disdainfully like a martial emperor looking down at an ant. I'm unbeatable now. That was right, he was unbeatable. He executed the Heaven Monarch art and merged the 33 orbs of Heaven Monarch with the first immortal realm. He was now the master of the first immortal realm. The origin force of the first immortal realm was under his control. The force of the heavens and earth was flowing into his body continuously. His strength skyrocketed, making him unprecedentedly strong. He would never run out of energy. Besides, as long as the attack was not able to destroy him, the force of the heavens and earth in the first immortal realm would instantly heal him regardless of the injuries he suffered. Who could possibly stand a chance against him? Even though Qin Nan's strength was a lot stronger than his, how long could Qin Nan last? Even if he could only inflict a slight injury on Qin Nan, as time went on, Qin Nan would be covered in blood and fall to the ground. Please remember the domain name of the book, .com. The mobile version of the book, .com. Chapter 26-26. Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others were startled. As expected of Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian, their capabilities were just too shocking. Kill! Yang Ling Tianzuan and the others let out a roar. They weaved through the rift and kept changing their positions. They were performing a series of hand seals to execute a series of shocking attacks. Even more so, they even began to burn their life force to execute some forbidden arts. At this moment, if they could kill Qin Nan, the Nine Heavens immortal realm would belong to Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian. How could they not be rewarded for their contributions? Supreme Heaven Extinguishing Sword Art. Yi Zhaoxian unleashed a tremendous aura too. She activated the monument of time and space and executed an ancient technique at the same time. She managed to endure most of the attacks from the ownerless heaven pattern and the undying cycle mountain on her own. Sword of the Emperor of Earth. Tsang unleashed wisps of golden sword intense. He did not back off at all, as if he had perfected the indestructible flesh of eternity, granting him an outstanding defense. He did not treat Qin Nan's attacks seriously. Bang bang bang! The shocking battle was getting more and more intense. That various kinds of martial intents kept colliding and exploding. The shockwaves had spread over 2 million li away. In the first immortal realm, in the cities, mystical realms, forbidden lands, and other places close to the southernmost land, countless cultivators and living beings were under great pressure. It felt like a great calamity was approaching them from the distance. This battle was truly too terrifying. Without being exaggerating, it was equivalent to a battle between two supreme highnesses. Qin Nan is being suppressed. All of a sudden, an extremely obvious change occurred in the battle, causing the hearts of the heavenly sovereigns to tremble. Tong. The heavenly Tao tree's expression shifted slightly. It unleashed a strong aura and emitted wisps of green light. Senior. Heaven Highness Huang Yun, Heaven Highness Duan Mu, and Heaven Highness Li Pasheng were startled. They immediately unleashed their auras and surrounded the celestial tree. Tong. There was no turning back once the battle began. It was related to the fate of countless people in their two clans. Tong. The heavenly Tao tree remained silent. Its eyes were fixed on the battle in the southernmost land. Time gradually passed. The celestial tree's eyes widened after some time. Tong. The Heaven Highnesses blurted out when they noticed something too. The celestial Emperor's sword is coming out. In the midst of the terrifying battle, a blinding sword glow burst out from the tip of Tsang's immortal sword. It dyed the surroundings golden, as if it could compete with the brilliance of the undying cycle mountain. Tong. A shocking aura burst out of the sword and surged across a few 100,000 li like a tsunami. The aura was different from the aura of a Heaven Highness. It was purer, more solid, more direct, and more straightforward, as if it was telling everyone that the aura had originated from a superior being that they could not disobey or resist. He was the only superior being in the world. At that instant, Qin Nan felt like he could see a sharp glint stabbing at him. He could feel a sharp pain coming from his body. From this, it could be seen how shocking and powerful this sword strike was. It's our chance. Yi Zhaoxian's eyes flickered coldly. She immediately decided to destroy the illusionary figure of the monument of time and space. Once the monument of time and space shattered, it would unleash a formidable force that could resist the two artifacts for a short period of time. He took the opportunity to execute an ancient killing blow together with Tsang's sword art. Qin Nan, the first slash will destroy your half-inextinguishable flesh of eternity, Tsang grinned. His voice was thunderous, as if he was passing judgment on Qin Nan. Is that so? Qin Nan did not hesitate. A law-defying art was unleashed in his body. It immediately controlled his half-inextinguishable flesh of eternity, the art of the immortal demon, and the rest of the arts, allowing the forces in his body to merge into one. Qin Nan's aura skyrocketed. No. In addition to it, the area within 1,000,000 li underwent tremendous changes, as if it had received a great impact, especially the force of the heavens and earth that was continuously flowing into Tsang's body. It was as if the force of the heavens and earth was being slashed continuously. That's... Song and Yi Zhaoxian's expressions froze simultaneously. Without a doubt, as supreme highnesses in the past, their memories were outstanding. Besides, the art had left an indelible impression on them in the Heaven Highness battlefield. This aura. The celestial tree was shocked. This ancient legend could not believe his eyes for the first time. He thought he was seeing an illusion. His celestial venerables, as well as Yang Ling Tianzuan and the other three, were confused and confused. What's wrong? What happened? Qin, why is Nan's aura still increasing? Song, why did he and Yi Zhaoxian suddenly stop? Senior, what's wrong? Celestial Venerable Huang Yun and the other two could not help but ask. That's right, that's the aura. I definitely remember it correctly. The celestial tree muttered to himself. He became excited, and his old face became rosy. I understand now. I finally understand why Qin Nan could reach such a level in just 2 years. How did he become a celestial venerable? He actually obtained Lin Xiaoji's inheritance. Celestial Venerable Yun and the other two were stunned. They looked at each other and became even more confused. Senior, who is Lin Xiaoji? Was there a peerless expert called Lin Xiaoji in the Sun Upper Realm? Chapter 26-27. You guys don't know? The celestial tree's eyes revealed surprise, then immediately thought of something, a look of realization and emotion on her face as she said, Makes sense, of course you guys don't know him. After that, I never saw him again. Later, I heard some rumors that he came from the depths of the Blue Dome and only made a trip to the Great Upper Realm by chance. Presumably, he should have returned to the depths of the Blue Dome. If he didn't go back, then I'm afraid that the entire Great Upper Realm situation wouldn't have become like today. That great battle back then might not have happened at all. Emperor Huang Yun, three people's minds trembled. Came from the depths of the Blue Dome? This, just 6 short words were enough to prove how extraordinary this Lin Xiaoji was. The celestial tree's gaze crossed countless voids, looking at Qin Nan's figure. Feeling that familiar aura in his body, she could not help sinking into memories and said, The first time I met Lin Xiaoji back then, it was inside the Empyrean Great Battlefield. The Battle of Empyreans that time was no small matter, the scene extremely grand. Song and Zhou Di, the 4 of them, also advanced to Empyrean in that Battle of Empyreans. At that time, Lin Xiaoji wasn't famous. But all of a sudden, the Heaven Pole Proclamation seniors suddenly raised his name to the front of the Heaven Pole Proclamation, even higher than Song they all. Such a move caused Song and Zhou Di they all to set their sights on Lin Xiaoji. Hence, a great battle erupted. Do you guys know what kind of great battle that was? Lin Xiaoji burst forth with unparalleled power, forcing Song and Zhou Di, the 4 of them, to have no choice but to join forces to fight him. Emperor Huang Yun, 3 people's eyes all revealed shock, not daring to believe. 4 great supreme Empyreans joining hands to besiege him alone. The celestial tree nodded and said, That's right. Furthermore, the 2 sides were evenly matched. It's just a pity that Huang Fuju suddenly made a move against Zhou Di. The Empyrean tree also appeared very soon, resulting in the great battle not continuing. Speaking up to here, there was still a little regret in her tone. Emperor Huang Yun suddenly thought of something and said in bewilderment, That's not right, senior. Since Lin Xiaoji was so powerful, he could definitely become an Empyrean. Logically speaking, the first place on the Celestial Pole leaderboard should belong to him. Even if he returned to the Blue Dome later on, he would still leave his name in history. The Heavenly Path tree smiled faintly. Logically speaking, that should be the case. Unfortunately, Lin Xiaoji obtained a celestial Empyrean tree, but did not become an Empyrean. Emperor Huang Yun and the others were stunned. He didn't become an Empyrean in the end? Of course, he still became an Empyrean in the end. The celestial tree spoke of their first meeting. However, he didn't become a celestial venerable in the celestial venerable battlefield. He found me when I was looking for the place where the celestial venerable tree grew. We entered together. At this point, the celestial tree was stunned. He suddenly remembered something. Before entering the land of no wonder, he felt very strange. This incomparably powerful person had always called him senior, and his attitude was very respectful. Hence, he asked Lin Xiaoji. At that time, Lin Xiaoji answered seriously, "Actually, there is still a lot of fate between me and senior. It's just that it's not convenient for me to say what this fate is now." "Oh right, senior, I have something that I want to ask you for help with. Are you willing? Please speak." A few years later, if you encounter a peerless genius with the surname Qin, please take care of him. In this instant, a thunderclap immediately sounded in the celestial tree's heart. Qin, a peerless genius with the surname Qin. This, wasn't it Qin Nan? As early as the ancient era, Lin Xiaoji had long expected that his inheritance would be obtained by Qin Nan. At this very moment, in the extreme south, at the site of the great battle, under the puzzled gazes of one empyrean after another, Yi Zhaoxian came back to her senses. Her face was full of shock. She even could not help lightly sucking in a breath and said, "No wonder you became so powerful. I didn't expect you to obtain Lin Xiaoji's inheritance." The power that Xiaoji had displayed in the past had left an indelible impression on him. However, meanwhile, Song, who was standing beside her, had yet to recover from the shock. The reason being that he knew more than Yi Zhaoxian. In the ancient era, when he had achieved the Supreme Highness realm and returned from exploring the godly boulder with Zhou Di, he had engaged in a great battle. He was planning to refine the heavenly pole leaderboard. After a great battle with the spirit of the celestial pole list, he ended up severely injuring it. The sword in his hand was pressed against the spirit of the celestial pole list's neck. "Brother Tian, are you still not willing to acknowledge me as your master? You're the weapon spirit, and the heavenly pole leaderboard is an artifact. You still need someone to activate it. Apart from me, who else in the 9 heavens immortal realm has the right to do so?" he said. Hearing this, the spirit of the heavens pole list sneered and looked at him with contempt, leaving an indelible impression. "Song, I have to admit that among the 4 of you, your talent is actually the most powerful, and your battle strength is also the most powerful. However, you've overestimated yourself. Do you really think you're unbeatable in the 9 heavens immortal realm? I don't mind telling you, do you still remember Lin Xiaoji from the Heaven Highness battlefield? Do you think he hasn't achieved the Heaven Highness realm?" The truth is, he has achieved the Heaven Highness realm too, but you didn't know about it due to various reasons. Besides, you might not know this, but he entered the light of time and space with me. He has achieved the Supreme Highness realm too. If he didn't leave the primary upper realm and go to the other world, do you really think you can call yourself a Heaven Emperor? The strongest cultivator in the 9 heavens immortal realm? At that time, those words were quite a shock to him, and they were deeply imprinted in the depths of his heart. However, yes, so much time had passed, and he had long forgotten about Lin Xiaoji. Who would have thought that his memories would be awakened now, and that brand would be undone? Please remember the domain name of the book.com. The mobile version of the book.com. Chapter 26-28. Song. Yi Zhaoxian sensed his abnormality and immediately transmitted her voice into his ear, her voice like thunder. Song Ru collected his thoughts and glanced at Qin Nan, who was standing not far away. "Qin Nan, oh Qin Nan, you've given me a great surprise." There was still no fear in Song's eyes. Instead, the excitement from before became even stronger. "I really didn't expect that you would actually obtain his inheritance. Where did you find it? The Blue Dome? Inside the 9 Dragons seal?" Or was it left behind by Zhou Di and the others? Song Yi Zhaoxian and the celestial tree subconsciously assumed Qin Nan was Lin Xiaoji's successor. They never thought Qin Nan's soul had returned to the ancient era, and Qin Nan was Lin Xiaoji. Successor? Qin Nan laughed in his heart. It was a good thing that they thought he was Lin Xiaoji's successor. You'll know the answer after you die, Qin Nan said calmly. At this moment, the aura emitted from his body had reached its peak. He was like a real god who had torn off his ordinary outer clothes and displayed endless power. In the endless void, the celestial venerables who were watching the battle all gasped, their hearts filled with shock. Even though they had no idea what had just happened, they could tell that Qin Nan's aura had completely surpassed Song and Yi Zhaoxian's. Anyone could easily tell that Qin Nan was much stronger than Song and Yi Zhaoxian. In addition to that, they also noticed that Song's Heaven Emperor art was greatly affected. It was no longer able to receive the support of the force of the heavens and earth all the time. Embodiment of the heavens and earth. Qin Nan did not waste any more time. His figure vanished into thin air without a trace. The Heaven Highnesses were startled. Was Qin Nan really gone? However, if he was really gone, why were the ownerless heaven pattern and the undying cycle mountain still unleashing their power? Something isn't right. Take a closer look, the southernmost land is changing. Heaven Highness Lu Feng blurted out. The land within 1,000,000 li began to tremble vigorously. Countless black clouds gathered in the boundless sky, which were mixed with the glow of lightning, as if a peerless tribulation was about to descend upon the place. In addition to it, they could clearly sense that the aura of the heavens and earth had changed. The first immortal realm was a whole entity. No matter what kind of mystical realms and secrets were hidden in the first immortal realm, the rules of the heavens and earth were the same. However, it was as if the southernmost land had been separated from the first immortal realm. It had become an independent existence, the smallest immortal realm in history. Break! Qin Nan's emotionless voice echoed in every corner of the southernmost land. It felt like countless Qin Nan were speaking at the same time. Song immediately noticed that it felt like 30 of them had been slashed in half. 3 saber glows had weakened the connection between the 33 orbs of Heaven Emperor and the first immortal realm. Song's aura dropped rapidly. The force of the heavens and earth surging into his body weakened significantly. The heavens and earth were called Qin Nan. Was Song trying to be strengthened by the heavens and earth? It was impossible. Even though the southernmost land was only a small part of the first immortal realm, Qin Nan could use the mystical nature of the origin force to stop Song from absorbing the force of the heavens and earth from the other parts of the first immortal realm. After all, Song could only borrow the origin force for now. He had yet to master it. Qin Nan's primary force flesh was now able to suppress him. 9 slashes of the immortal sword. Yi Zhaoxian knew how powerful Lin Xiaoji's technique was, and he also knew the power of heaven and earth incarnation. Therefore, he changed his original plan and maintained the steel of time and space. At the same time, he used a supreme spell. Qin Nan, do you really think Lin Xiaoji can suppress me with her capabilities? Song performed a hand seal. Wisps of golden light burst out of his body. Origin force, enter my body. Song had placed great importance on Lin Xiaoji since the battle in the Heaven Highness battlefield. Later on, when the spirit of the celestial pole list said those words before it died, he paid even more attention to it. Therefore, for a period of time, he had wholeheartedly deduced how he should deal with Lin Xiaoji in a confrontation. Now that this dusty memory had been awakened, he naturally thought of the methods to deal with it that he had deduced back then. Bang bang bang! The heavenly emperor pearls that had sunk into the ground turned into rays of light. They broke through the invisible barrier covering a distance of over 1,000,000 li and entered Song's body at lightning speed. Every time a heaven emperor pearl entered Song's body, his aura would skyrocket. Song activated the Celestial Emperor's pearls, temporarily absorbing the origin energy and fusing it into each of the Celestial Emperor's pearls. Once he merged them with the Heaven Emperor pearls, he would be able to control the origin force. Even though it was not as effective as borrowing the origin force of the first immortal realm, at least Qin Nan would not be able to stop him. Kill! Qin Nan uttered the command. The force of the heavens and earth in the southernmost land instantly became restless. Countless murderous intents were formed on their own, aiming at Song, Yi Zhaoxian, and the others. In addition to it, 10 godly rays descended from the sky. Each of them had Qin Nan's figure. Some of Qin Nan's figures were emitting sacred glows like a sacred emperor. Some of Qin Nan's figures were emitting demonic glows like a demon god. Some of them were emitting battle intent, desolation intent, etc. Qin Nan was able to control everything with his origin force. Now that he had achieved the heavens and earth, he merged the will of the half-step indestructible flesh of eternity, the art of the immortal demon, and other arts with the origin force of the heavens and earth to create his clones to fight Lin Xiaoji. It was obvious that Qin Nan's mastery of the art of the heavens and earth had improved compared to when he was in the ancient era. His strength was a few times stronger than when Lin Xiaoji was in the same realm as him. Please remember the domain name of this book, .com. The mobile version of the House of Wonders website, .com. Chapter 26-29. Yi Zhaoxian was startled. As a supreme highness in the past, his senses were quite sharp. As such, he immediately sensed a strong sense of danger. The sense of danger was comparable to the one he sensed during the battle between the 4 supreme highnesses. This was a matter of life and death. Space-time rotation art. Yi Zhaoxian did not hesitate in the slightest. He immediately used his trump card. The cultivation method he created in his body began to circulate on its own. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Following a strong ripple, illusionary figures of space-time boulders appeared in the rift. Including the one from before, there were a total of 9 of them. They floated in the rift and formed a huge formation. They unleashed an ancient aura like a great tide, and resisted the auras of the undying cycle mountain and the ownerless heaven pattern. Space-time burning, Tao-severing sword art. Immortal Zhao executed a forbidden art, causing her aura to skyrocket. Meanwhile, the sword in his hand emitted a brilliant blue glow. Wisps of blue sword intense soared into the sky and targeted Qin Nan's clones. U4, stop Qin Nan's clones. Yi Zhaoxian snapped. Yang Ling Tianzuan, Heaven Highness Impermanence, and the others immediately executed their forbidden arts as if they had just woken up from a dream. Damn it! How did Qin Nan become so strong? The same thought flashed through everyone's minds at the same time. However, since things had already come to this, they had no other choice but to fight head-on. 33 Heavens Sword Art. Song soared into the sky. 33 illusionary figures appeared behind him. If one took a closer look, they would notice that the illusionary figures were miniature versions of the 33 small immortal realms. It was a map of their respective realms. Their appearance seemed to represent the will of the 33 small immortal realms. The immortal sword in Song's hand unleashed a strong sword intent that soared into the clouds. The sword intent was different from the swords of the human emperor, earthly dominator, and heaven monarch. It was extremely sharp, as if it was born to slay everything in the world. The reason being that Song was fighting against the heavens. Only Song had a chance to penetrate the heavens and injure Qin Nan with his outstanding strength. Burial of the heavens and earth, Qin said. Nan said indifferently. When his voice fell, the entire world began to move at the same time. Countless strands of killing intent burst out and pincer attacked Song, Yi Zhaoxian, and the others. Bang! Bang! The battle was becoming more and more terrifying. However, unlike before, the will and gusts of wind produced by the collisions between the attacks did not spread to other places in the first immortal realm like a storm. They were all confined to the space that Qin Nan had constructed. Meanwhile, outside the rift, the celestial tree collected his thoughts. His eyes flickered. His aura reached its peak too. A strong life force burst out of his body. "Senior, what are you planning to do?" Heaven Highness Huang Yun and the others blurted out after collecting their thoughts. "Ha ha ha, what else can I do?" The celestial tree burst out laughing. He looked energetic as if he had regained his youth. "I'm going to take part in the battle, of course!" "No, you can't do that," Heaven Highness Huang Yun blurted out with a startled expression. "Why not?" The celestial tree no longer hesitated. He said firmly, "I don't mind telling you, Lin Xiaoji has asked me to help Qin Nan many years ago. I'm going to help him just because of it." The celestial tree added after a brief pause, "Of course, I will announce to the world that I have nothing to do with the Li clan and the Wang clan. I'm only taking part in the battle for myself, nothing else." He had long wanted to take part in the battle. He did not like Yi Zhaoxian and Song at all. In his eyes, both of them were ambitious wolves. It would be a disaster for the Nine Heavens' immortal realm regardless of who won the battle. However, he was no longer as strong as he was in the past. He was already old, so he had his reservations. However, he changed his mind when he learned that Qin Nan was Lin Xiaoji's successor. To be more precise, it had given him a reason to ease the burden in his heart. He was willing to take part in the battle. "Senior, you." Heaven Highness Huang Yun and the others wore wry smiles. "I've made up my mind." The celestial tree waved his hand to interrupt. He said in a serious tone as a thought crossed his mind, "I think you're doing the right thing, but it's not right either. We should take the risk when it's time to do so. It's the only way our clan can grow stronger. Of course, if I don't die in the battle, I'll do my best to help you as long as you don't mind," the celestial tree said. The heaven-reaching Tao tree did not say anything else. It turned into a ray of green light and headed for the southernmost land. No. A while later, he went into Qin Nan's world and waved his hand, firing a sharp ray at Heaven Highness Yang Ling and the others. "Tong Tian, how dare you attack us?" Yi Zhaoxian asked. Immortal Zhao shouted coldly. Every single word of hers contained an immense pressure that could attack one's heart. "Yi Zhaoxian, so what if I attack you? I've never been afraid of you since countless years ago. Why would I be afraid of you now that you're no longer at your peak?" The celestial tree chuckled coldly. He transformed into a towering tree standing in the rift. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh! Tianqing countless branches on the tree immediately transformed into peerless swords that intertwined into a huge net that loomed over celestial venerate Yang Ling and the others. Not good. The expressions of Yang Ling Tianzuan and the other three changed. Once in ancient times, the celestial tree was known as the strongest person below the four supreme celestials. His battle prowess was extremely formidable. After so many years of development, the celestial tree had certainly improved. Therefore, the celestial tree's attack immediately made them feel a huge sense of crisis. Please remember the domain name of this book. .com, website of the wonderful book. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.